Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast episode, I don't know, something like 130. You are so lucky to be joining me today because we're probably in a world exclusive, like an Xbox world exclusive. We have not just myself, Chris, as the host, but we've got big man Jamie and slightly smaller big man, but bigger than me man, Alex Jones. How you doing, fellas?
Woo, I'm doing great. We should hire the world premiere guy to do our intros. That's a great idea, Chris.
Yeah, but just get him to do like really random shit like, suck my dick.
Suck
To
my
be-
dick.
To be fair, this is the world premiere of the 130th show of the Super Show, so it would be accurate every week to have him go, world premiere, and
True.
kick off.
He's probably on Cameo, right?
Probably is.
You want to do a live check for us?
Yeah, sure. I'll have a little cameo look. And if not,
World
like,
premiere.
there's a guarantee. Like, the Halo guy will probably be on there. You know, the guy who's like Slayer. He can do a good job.
That would be good. Or maybe, I'd love it to get like GLaDOS on.
GLaDOS would be good. The EA Sports It's in the Game guy. He'd be fun.
Oh, fucking the NBA Jam announcer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Is
like
it the shoes?
downtown.
He's on
of
fire from downtown.
I would
Anyway.
like the dude from Disco Elysium, like the rough voiced guy from Disco Elysium would be quite cool.
All right, I haven't heard him, so I'll take your word for it. If you didn't know, we're a gaming podcast because we just spoke about gaming voiceover people. No, we're not a gaming voiceover podcast. We're just gaming news. Just three bros hanging
That would
out.
be niche.
That'd be very niche. We would probably get more views and listens if we were that niche, to be fair. But hey, hi, how you doing? We're a gaming podcast, and we are available on all major podcasting platforms of your choice. I'm talking Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Amazon somewhere, probably like Audible or I don't know, some like Stitcher, Deezer, all that shit. We're also available on YouTube if you want to see our deliciously moist faces. A little bit roasty this evening.
It's warm.
It is warm. It is warm. It's only going to get warmer, buddy. Welcome to hell. And if you're not into all that like YouTube, podcasting platform kind of thing, you can catch us weekly, the week after we go live on Paisley Radio, paisleyradio.com, Thursdays 10 p.m., repeated Mondays 10 p.m. And that's if you want that like authentic internet radio experience that you can only really get with Paisley Radio. All the others are just imitating to, paraphrase my man M. Oh, fellas, what a week it's been.
What a week it's
Roller
been.
coaster, if anything. Ups, downs, loop-the-loops, lots of vomiting, and lots of coming. I don't know about you, but that's how
In which order?
in exactly the order I said.
Okay. So you're ending on a high. That's the most important part.
That's the most important, baby. Hell yeah. But yeah, last week, obviously, we spoke about God of War. We're going to be catching up on what's been happening there. There's a couple of some Ubisoft news, believe it or not, that doesn't have to do with sexual harassment. That's always fun.
Well, there's always the asterisk.
Hey, could be breaking news. It's happened before.
Yeah.
As we're on the podcast.
Jesus.
We're seeing the return of RoboCop, the return of maybe something that, while is certainly welcome, shouldn't really be a thing that should be coming out again, which is a remake of Lollipop Chainsaw. But
How
hey,
dare
what?
you, sir?
Well, as long as they get Jessica Negri involved, I'm there.
Doesn't sound like they've got anyone involved, to be honest, Chris, but okay.
Hey,
Guess
well,
we'll get to that.
We'll find out. We'll find out going forward. But in the meantime, fellas, I thought it would just be really nice kind of get an interesting take from you, okay? Because in the news recently, an interesting take, not hot takes,
Okay.
because I don't believe that you'll have hot takes on this. I think you will have insightful, in-depth
Ooh.
analysis of what is about to go on. Jamie especially. So, no pressure, but here we go, okay? Rockstar are in the news, maybe not for the right reasons, as people would have hoped. But Rockstar appear to have shelved remakes of both GTA 4 and the original Red Dead Redemption to focus on GTA 6. I guess negative or positive depending on what your perspective is, right?
Totally,
Now,
yeah.
these claims were made by a Rockstar insider. So again, our specialty is the confirmed rumors, but they've been corroborated by, stop me if you've heard this before, the fucking paragon of games journalism, Kotaku, who first leaked the existence of the definitive edition trilogy. So, okay, fine, fair enough. Basically, what happened is, from what I understand, the reporting to be is Rockstar got cold feet because of the kind of frosty reception, the definitive edition. Do you see what I did there? Cold feet, frosty reception.
It was very clever.
There's a reason why hosting.
This is why tens of people listen to this podcast. But yeah, the remasters themselves are not entirely out of scope and could be revisited following GTA 6's release. But I'm sure some people will be disappointed. Maybe not if they've actually played the definitive edition trilogy, but I'm sure loads of people would be happier that this would mean whenever GTA 6 returns, it will return sooner than if they're working on these remasters, these remakes.
It's nice to hear that they're working on the remakes. That's one thing that's nice to hear. They haven't handed them off to some mobile gaming company to make some potato games. So,
outrageous.
That's quite good.
It's not outrageous. Don't get hand job Max Studio to do it. Get fucking Rockstar to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they've got enough employees and enough studios around the world.
Sure. They've got enough employees and all they're doing is fucking cranking up more fucking casino heists and GTA Online.
Right, yeah, it's a better use of time than GTA Online. That's for sure. But yeah, like I don't know if we want to dive straight into it, but I think what Jonesy was kind of getting at is the key part here, which is that I think at some point, there was someone very senior at Rockstar, one of the suits, who has presented some cool information. I don't know, probably in the form of like a pie chart or a bar graph or something. It presented visually. You could see like
a scatter graph.
Yeah, exactly. Something really cool like that. Something high end. And the long and short of it was like GTA 6 release date if we make these remasters. GTA 6 release date if we don't. And the people who want more money coming into that company, the most money possible. Well, like I kind of like the look of that second one. I kind of like the look of releasing the biggest game of all time as soon as possible. And I think that's probably the long and short of what's happened here. And the other note I'd make is that like Rockstar have kind of become weirdly notorious over the last 9 years, basically since the release of GTA 5 in 2013, for basically not releasing any games. It took them another 3 years to release Red Dead Redemption 2, and they're now in their fourth year of not releasing anything that's not a port or a remaster or so on and so forth. I think part of that is that things like this have been happening non-stop for the last 9 years, and we just don't hear about them. Things that are planned, things that enter pre-production. If you believe the rumors about Bully, that game has been in some form of production with different ideas, like as many as 3 times, perhaps at least 2. I just think that they're a company that has very high standards, whether people want to believe that or not, based on GTA Online. And I think they chop and change a lot of shit as soon as they're not 100% convinced they're going in the right direction. 1, because they've got the money to, and 2, because I think their reputation is very important to them still.
Yeah, I agree about the reputation point for sure. I agree about everything that you've said, but the reputation point is something I think we should touch on quickly. It's easy to say, oh, definitive edition trilogy, like it was pants, but it fucking sold mega. So what's the problem? And I feel for a lot of companies out there, maybe the Ubisofts of the world, they won't really care that much. They just made the money. They're good. But yeah, I think definitely like the higher ups at Rockstar are like, no, we're fucking Rockstar. We're not gonna. Yeah, we can't do this again. Like our reputation is on the line. Even if we can come back for it, we just don't want that to be a look. And I think they've had.
They might have got it wrong though. They might have got it wrong because imagine if they released another potato remaster, right? And people will get really annoyed again. And then when when GTA 6 comes out, it's even more exciting because of how good it is. They maybe should have kept the bar low so that they can just like blow people away even more when they actually do drop a decent game.
Maybe.
Yeah, I guess it depends on like what the scope of these remasters or remakes would have been. Like GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption also sit in really weird spots where I think they're games that probably haven't aged too badly. And
Red Dead has. Have you tried to play Red Dead recently?
I guess not.
That sounds like the follow-up. Red Dead Redemption 2, and then Red Dead recently.
Yeah.
I tried to play Red Dead I think it was a year. I think I tried to play it 18 months ago, and I was surprised. I was genuinely like, oh, okay. I didn't realize it was like this old. But
I guess what I'm saying is that going back to what I said, GTA 5 released in 2013, right? That was the same year as The Last of Us was released, and The Last of Us Part 1, as it's now known, has sparked a whole new debate about how old does a game need to be remade, right. And, to what extent is there a need to kind of modernize these titles? And if Rockstar looked at it as a situation of like, hey, can we essentially remake Red Dead Redemption 1, for example, with Red Dead Redemption 2's mechanics, or using the advancements in the engine that was made for Red Dead Redemption 2, they'd be looking at a weirdly similar story and a weirdly situation to what Naughty Dog and Sony were looking at, and maybe they've just seen that reception. Like, actually, a lot of the people are looking at these trailer comparisons and being like, well, we didn't need this. And again, I think, like what we're saying, a lot of it is sort of reputation, and you with the weird definitive edition stuff aside, you go back to production stories all the way to as recently as Red Dead Redemption 2, their last major release. It's like they'll go back to the blueprint as many times as they need to get things right, and they won't release a game until they know they've made something that's iterated on the formula enough to justify its existence. And maybe these were just titles that they couldn't quite justify based on their recency.
Yeah. Do you think is there anything to be worried about the fact that they're having to pull people off of other projects to work on GTA 6 when you also consider the fact they've lost Dan Houser and is it Laszlo Jones in the time frame since we've seen anything new?
Leslie Benzies, but Laszlo I think is a character within.
Sorry, what's his name?
Leslie Benzies.
Leslie Benzies.
We need the Benz.
The Benz.
But Laszlo Jones is like the guy who does radio stuff in the GTA games, right? Like,
yes, of course.
Laszlo Jones is a Rockstar dude, but he's just not that. That's a really interesting.
Sorry, Leslie Benzies. Leslie Benzies.
Sorry,
2020 was it that they both left?
Hauser was 2020 because that was one of the super shows we recorded at Chris's house.
Oh shit!
Benzies was a few years before that.
Remember recording at my house? That's mad.
Yeah,
I
right.
thought they were this. Yeah, that does seem like not that long ago. To be fair to me,
no,
I guess it was quite a while ago.
The reason I know that Benzies wasn't at the same time because I remember hearing, listening to a podcast where they talked about excerpts from the lawsuit between Benzies and Rockstar while I was on the bus on the way home from the place that we used to work.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
So basically pre early 2019.
But do you think there's anything to be worried about the fact they've had high profile leavers? Sorry. Are you worried at all about that?
It's definitely going to change the feel of it, but it's easy to think that these figureheads are responsible for these games, right?
But then also to see that they're having to pull. I guess that's the thing, right? They're pulling staff from some areas where they're like, oh, we're not. Well, it seems like that. It seems like
allegedly,
they're saying, we're pulling people from off of other projects to work on GTA 6, which kind of suggests that maybe GTA 6's development's not going as hoped, as planned, unless it is as Jamie said, and they're literally just pausing stuff more because of the reception of things recently, and it's nothing to do with the development of GTA 6, and that's kind of a cover.
I mean, I'd like to think that they like. Rockstar's a weird one, right? Because on the one hand, they've got enough money and enough employees to work on multiple games, as we'd expect them to do. Like, the rumors working on Bully 2 and any of these remasters that would happen, and still work on GTA 6. But on the other hand, like, they don't need to work on anything else. They could just work on GTA 6. But I think the whole idea about having the multiple teams is just some people just might not be into it and they just want something else, Yeah.
And there's also, like, as we discussed again, to bring up Naughty Dog again, and the reason why they have different projects and different states of flux is that even within and across multiple teams, there are teams within teams, and if you have teams of like artists and then teams of writers and then teams of designers, but there's always going to be someone whose hands are not quite as full compared to the people they're sat next to, right?
Totally,
depending on which stage of development you're at, which is why it does make sense to have different projects and different timelines. But going back to what Jonesy said, I think it's one of those things where when you hear all hands on deck, like taking part in one project, it could be for any number of reasons. It could be because we want this thing to get done a little bit sooner than our current estimates. This thing is really good and we want to make it better. Or it could be, like Jonesy speculated, this thing's in trouble and we need as many hands on deck as to fix it. But like, again, whichever angle you take on that is literally just, it's speculative. Could be a positive thing, could be a negative thing.
I like the idea that, I think probably the one that appeals to me most is the idea that someone was brought in, like a high level exec, and they were shown a couple of graphs and they were like, if we put everyone on this project, then we get it here. If we don't put everyone on this project, we get it here. And they're like, I like that graph. Let's do that. And they're like, okay.
Oh yeah, there will definitely be people. Sorry, Chris.
Literally the same thing Jamie said 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, I said I like that. I like Jamie said.
Yeah.
No, so I was agreeing. I was saying I like that idea the most. I think that to me like kind of rings the most true is the idea that someone said that. I think that sounds probably the most plausible.
Because that, as you said, Chris, that trilogy definitive edition sold really well, especially relative to the reception and the kind of the conversation around that game. But at the same time, GTA 6 does like multiples of that number in its first weekend.
Yeah.
A bad GTA 6 does that in its first weekend because of the curiosity factor, if nothing else.
But then also, like going back to Jonesy's point about like all hands on deck because maybe there's a problem. The pressure on Rockstar to make GTA 6 like this amazing thing, because it's almost like you think about like GTA's 1 to 4, okay, like yes, the hype was growing, but then almost like going from 4 to 5 was like fucking beyond anyone's expectation, like astronomical, right? It's almost like everything else was putting in fuel in the rocket ship, and GTA 5 was the fucking rocket ship that went all the way to Mars.
Come on, man. GTA 3 was the rocket ship that went all the way to Mars. What are you talking about?
GTA 3 was the...
Compared to 2, you're a psychopath.
No, it was a giant leap, of course, but like, just think of the cultural reception and the longevity of GTA 5.
Maybe. I still say it's 3, but yeah.
Wow. Okay, 3. Okay, sorry. 3 is the pinnacle of GTA. Everyone, sorry.
No. They're like as a progression from 2 to 3. Like genuinely, as a kid,
Jonesy,
going from that,
you're talking
it like blew my mind.
You're talking about the most profitable single piece of media, not just game media.
Obsessed with money. You are all obsessed with money, not cultural impact.
It's all about them greenbacks, baby.
No, I reckon GTA 3 shaped the industry for 50, 60 years to come.
I mean, it did kind of create a genre, right? Like,
it created the open world, like driving around in cars in cities. It literally created that entire thing.
It created the GTA clone.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it created every game that cloned it for years to come.
But you get what I'm saying? Like,
no, I get what you're saying. GTA 5 it's like the biggest version of that thing. Yeah,
it's the biggest version of anything ever.
But unfortunately, I suppose we have to be honest and say it's GTA Online, which is the real, which is a shame.
Yes, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
But the pressure must be immense. The pressure must be absolutely fucking immense. And it's almost like you have to think to yourself, GTA 6 will never reach that height purely because of the expectation put on it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's a point where there's a ceiling that the expectation will like pass through that ceiling, but that ceiling will be where the standards max out for whatever reason. And I think one of the things that's caused that is that one of the things that's interesting comparing the sort of the two eras that you guys were talking about, like the GTA 3 and the progression following that release, and GTA 5 and the progression following that release, is the expectations, and to a certain extent, the way Rockstar's been able to live up to those expectations has increased exponentially. And it's so easy to forget that GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas, all three of those titles came out in 4 years. Like Grand Theft Auto was almost an annual title in the early noughties. And that's the thing, that exponential increase just led to the demands of the open world changed, the demands of the storytelling changed, and the demands of the scope and the scale, and everything changed. And like Red Dead Redemption 2 felt like a title that for me lived up to those expectations, not necessarily by the skin of its teeth, because that sounds more negative, but it was like, wow, they took the longest they've ever taken and spent the most amount of money they've ever spent, and I think they justified it. But my God, where do they go from here? And I don't know what that GTA 6... It reminds me of when Psy released Gangnam Style, and you sat there watching the views blow up, and it's like, this guy has made the single biggest YouTube video in history, and he hasn't released another song since. Like, he can't do it again. There is no Gangnam Style 2. Like, Psy has peaked, and that's it. You just have to accept it. And it's about, like, creating the best possible parachute for yourself you can. And I'm not suggesting GTA 6 has to be a parachute game for Rockstar, but they'll be thinking that on some level. Like, if nothing else, you have to avoid embarrassment. Yeah, like, it's not going to sell as well as GTA 5. Those numbers will never happen again, in my opinion. But
do you really think so? You really think it can't?
I think there's a chance that GTA 5's numbers are never repeated again in the history of video. Well, that's a stupid thing to say because I think the number of people who play video games is obviously going to drastically increase over the course of decades and so on and so forth. But I think, like, relative to the number of people who own the consoles that GTA 5 can be played on, I don't think that's going to be repeated, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if, like, the ratio of, like, console gamers to copies of GTA 5 sold, I think it's especially at that price, at that retail price. So ignoring free-to-play or cut I know there's a lot of caveats that I've just made to an outlandish statement, but there is a part of GTA 5's success that is... I mean, it's 9 years old, and we won't be surprised if at the end of the year it was like, oh, it was the 5th best-selling game this year. Nothing's ever done that before.
Because nothing's ever done that before.
Yeah.
It's almost sad in a way because GTA 6, even if it's really good, will almost feel like just a sequel. Even if it's not like a direct sequel, do you know what I mean? Like, it won't feel like a paradigm shift in the way that, like you were saying, Chris, like 4 to 5 was. I don't think there's anything they can do to make it feel like that.
No, they can't.
It's almost impossible.
Games haven't come on far enough. Like,
exactly. Yeah,
I think
games,
the only clear
games haven't come on far enough.
The only clear path is this, right? Effectively, you emulate the GTA 5 formula in a way. Not necessarily talking about like the story or whatever, but what you do is you have a story with multiple protagonists, and then you expand it to a GTA 6 online, and then that's just where you live.
Well, I think we sort of talked about it before, and I think one of the things we guessed at, which I still think is a strong contender, is that it's almost like that Departed situation where they do a two-character thing where you play as a cop and you play as a villain, and you sort of jump between the two of them, and there's a relationship, whatever. And then the online thing kind of follows in from that, where you can have like police and criminals, and it's sort of, you know.
Yeah, it's hard, man. With all the fucking, like, I don't know what to believe anymore with all the fucking leaks and rumors and speculation about what that story is. I just think, you know what it's going to be? It's going to be GTA.
Yeah. That's the only thing you can get.
I think when people adjust their expectations following release, I think that's kind of all it needs to be. There's a part of me that, without sounding too reductive, just thinks all GTA 6 needs to be is big and good, and people will just kind of like, even if it's not, you know, the be all and end all, people will accept it for what it is and enjoy it.
Bro, I reckon, and this is not on the cards, it's not going to happen, but like, if they ever had to say like, pull a Black Ops 4 and be like, yeah, there's no single player campaign. It's just GTA Online, but GTA Online 2.
Don't even joke.
It would be dog shit. It would never happen, but I guaranteed it doesn't matter. It'll do well.
I think it would do pretty well. I don't think it would do
they read that EA social tweet and they cancelled their online single player.
What fucking dingo. Do you reckon the social manager of EA got fired for that one?
There was nothing wrong with the tweet.
It was a joke, yeah.
It was a joke. It was like nothing wrong with it. But people can't handle EA like doing it. Like, this is the thing. You know, it was a kid it was like a kid social manager person who's probably like 19 years old who made a joke, but then because it's EA, everyone like was like all the comments underneath it, and like the ratio was horrendous of people just going like laying into them. And it was just a shitty joke.
It's almost kind of like, you know, like we could make a joke about a sex dungeon, and fine, it's a joke about a sex dungeon.
Yeah.
As soon as Joseph Fritzl makes a joke about a sex dungeon, it's like,
But now imagine that it's not Joseph Fritzl. Imagine that it's like a million people connected to Joseph Fritzl, and they all work for Joseph, and they all worked for Joseph Fritzl. And anytime any of them make a joke about anything, everyone's like, "Have you forgotten about what Joseph Fritzl did?" And you're like, "Yeah, EA can be scummy. We know that, but you also play thousands of games that they've published over the years. Like someone just made a joke that you didn't think was funny. Just get over it."
Have you seen what Andrew Wilson looks like? He is the devil on earth. A gorgeous looking man, by all means. But you look into those dead eyes and you're like, he's tortured some interns.
And now the intern's getting laid into because of the tweet.
Well, I've got a tinfoil hat for this that you guys are probably going to like.
Okay, so
go
hold
on.
on.
I love a
First
tinfoil
off,
hat.
some context for people who don't know what that tweet was. I realize we're coming in with the pre-assumed knowledge.
Yes.
EA put out a tweet.
I've got it here in front of me. They said there are 10, but they only like playing single player games, which is a riff on the current like meme format of like there are 10, like there are 10 out of 10, but
this is something bad about them.
Yes.
So basically saying that like single player games are bad, notoriously coming from.
No, that's not. But that's not. I don't think that's the joke. I think the joke
literally
was
100% the joke.
No, that's not how I read the joke.
Mate,
the joke is there are 10.
Planet.
I'm not. The joke to me that joke is there are 10, but they play single player games, which means that you can't game with them because you want to play multiplayer games with them. So you can't play with them because they're playing single players.
Jonesy, you know what's fascinating about you?
That's how I read that joke.
I feel that like
because
you were living in a tangent of the real world.
That is how I love
that about you.
Because imagine if it's what you said, which is what a lot of people took it to mean.
It's almost like you're taking a diagonal view look at something.
It's because a lot of people took it to mean there are 10, but their flaw is that they like single player games.
That's what the meme is. Am I mistaken here? Am I going crazy? Am I taking crazy pills? That's what the meme is.
Yes, but what I'm saying is you can see you don't have to stick 100% to the meme. I took it to be there are 10, but they play single player games, which means that it's a negative because you can't game with them. So it's still a negative. It still fits the meme. Are you insane?
If there is a meme going about,
it still fits the meme. How does it not fit the meme?
And a corporate company takes it on and does their riff on it, they are following the format of that meme.
How does it not follow the format of the meme?
What do you mean?
What Jonesy's saying is that if even in the format of the meme, the implication is that playing single player games is a negative character trait.
Yes,
because they won't game with you.
But Jonesy's saying that there are multiple reasons why only playing single player games could be perceived as a negative character trait. Like one surface reading of it is that single player games are bad, therefore this person is dumb, therefore it's a slight on the fact there are 10. Another reading of it could be that this is bad because of the reason Jonesy said. That's what Jonesy's getting at. But I think this is not a tweet this was a bad attempt to jump on a bandwagon.
I want to hear Jamie's tinfoil hat anyway. I want to hear the tinfoil hat.
I want to say this isn't tinfoil hat that I've put on. Like this is actually like a story that has legitimately done the rounds and been picked up on. And in fact, I'm getting the quotes I'm getting from NME. That basically.
NME?
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting following the posting, where EA were kind of uncertain of what to do and how to react to the backlash they were getting, there were conversations that were had in internal Slack channels with other internal studios, where managers were asked to quote workshop replies where EA studios would publicly ridicule their publisher online, i.e., like the official Dead Space account might reply, like quote tweet it and be like, like blah blah blah, as though to turn it into a positive social media spin for the single player internal studios at EA. But apparently managers didn't like that plan, and so they simply resorted to an apology, which was quote roast well deserved. We'll take this L because playing single player games actually makes them an 11.
They probably did the right thing in terms of their response. I'd imagine.
Yeah,
they gone the other way. Like
they could have made it worse if they tried to like style it out. Like I think it could have just gotten worse, and like they would have seemed even worse for trying to go. No, it was all on purpose.
It's Joseph Fritzl saying it's just a joke.
It's just a joke.
It's a joke, bro. Calm down.
One standout reply to the post came from BioWare writer Patrick Wells, which bluntly stated, quote, thinking about working until midnight for the better part of a year to help ship Mass Effect 2. Which is like, yeah, kind of rough.
Jesus Christ.
Another came from former employee at the now defunct Visceral Games, Zach Mumbach, quote, this is the company that shut my studio down and laid off 100 great developers because we were making a single-player game.
Single-player game, yeah, exactly.
No, but see, not exactly. That's the social media person that put that tweet up didn't shut down Visceral Games, and Visceral Games weren't closed down because they were making a single player game. It was like this is the thing. There's shitloads that goes into it.
Hold on, you could say that yes, they were because of EA's documented shift to service only games at that time.
I don't think you could say it's because it was a single player. I think you could say they looked at it and they said, on balance, we don't think blah, 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 profitability, blah, blah, blah. But it's not just going to be, actually, we don't like single player games anymore. Like, I don't think that would be an accurate representation. But the idea that it wasn't this social media manager that closed them down.
It wouldn't even be a social media manager. We know it would be like a fucking intern. Someone with like a year's experience.
I genuinely felt sorry for them because I was thinking, like, this kid's 19. They thought they were joining in with something, and now they've just got literally rinsed. And now they've got to go to. They've probably been called in, because they're probably at home and they've been called in, and they're like head in their hands, like, I thought I was just making a joke, but now
it's like the kids all excited to jump on a trend, Yeah, man. Fucking hell. I do feel bad. Like, that. I hope nothing bad's happened. I hope
they'll be fine.
I hope Andrew Wilson didn't flay his skin.
You don't get fired for that.
Nah, you just get your dick chopped off.
Yeah, exactly. By Andrew Wilson.
Nailed to Andrew Wilson's door.
Yeah. See, Andrew Wilson's actually, he's the type of what's the Terminator from Terminator 2? The T-1000.
T-1000.
So yeah, he's a T-1000. He just turns his entire forearm into a blade and chops your dick off. That's what Andrew Wilson does.
I like that. That's cool.
You've seen this, boy.
I like to think that what he did instead was a bit T-1000-y again, but he just got really close to the intern and he just absorbed them into himself. And then that was it. No one ever saw them again.
But every now and then, when Andrew Wilson sneezes, out of his neck pops out the face of the intern. Like,
it's just screaming.
Help me! And then it just disappears. Like, and it's like, what was that, Peter? Andrew Wilson. It's like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. Didn't see anything.
When he takes off his shirt and bends over to pick something, there's just all these little faces of all these people that he's absorbed over the years.
It's fucking. It's what's his name? Quaid.
Quaid. What is that thing called? Watto? Watto?
Watto? Not Something Watto. Like it's not Watto, but yeah. Fucking hell. We diverged there. Fellas, we're talking about GTA.
I can't remember what it's. Yeah. There you go.
Right. What would GTA look like if it was published by EA?
No single player campaign. Like you said, just online. No, it would look exactly the same.
Yeah,
because they like to make money. It would look exactly the same.
Yeah, it would be GTA Online, multiple. Except it would be like the IKEA pack on GTA Online.
Yeah, and
werewolves.
And there would have been one really random game that came out in like 2015 that was like janky as fuck because they forced them to build GTA and Frostbite.
Fucking hell. Oh, fellas, what are we doing with our lives? And what are you doing with your lives, listeners? If you're not supporting the Super Show, talk about all this bullshit. That's right. You can head on over to patreon.com/supershow and keep the meandering going. Keep us talking absolute bullshit as best as we can. That's right. Head on over to patreon.com/supershow. Show your support. You get access to our Discord server for as little as $2. And hey, we've got some cool stuff coming up on our Patreon. That Quarry playthrough that we did is going to go hopefully live soon, fellas. As soon as I can find the time to edit that like fucking 3-hour video. But it is going to happen sooner rather than later. Hopefully I can get around to it this weekend, put it up. But yeah, for as little as $5, you can get access to a bunch of Patreon exclusive content, including like behind the scenes, some archive stuff from ATG days, some Patreon exclusive podcasts even. So, go patreon.com/supershow, show your support, just like these fine ladies and gentlemen that you see named on screen right now, with of course a special shout out going to Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Bill Caesar, Brimstone, Cole K, I Snort Rock Salt, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Leo Murger, Mindful Pig, Mr. Anthropic, Nathan Piers, Neil, to Geld's Dream of Prosthetic Moustaches Daniel, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, and of course the big boys, Brett Z, aka Shellshock, Doppler, Geometric Potter, oh my god, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel Donut County Stand Guerrero, and Peaswad. Now, before I continue any further, I need to see what I've done wrong because I had fucking Tweedledee and Tweedledum snickering in the background. what did I say one of the names wrong?
No, I'll tell you later. I have to tell you off the podcast.
Oh, it's one of those, yeah?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Fucking hell. Jeez Louise. Ah. Anyway.
It might just be in my head. It's probably just the way I... you know what? Sometimes, Chris, my imagination runs wild with things.
And I was just laughing at Jamie's face.
Yeah,
right, okay. If it didn't occur to Jonesy, then it probably exists solely in my head. But it's an off-the-podcast matter.
It's possible. Okay, fine. Well, you know what, Jamie? If you want to be like that, be like that. But then why don't you at least tell me what you've been playing since
sure.
you last spoke?
Oh, God, boy, is it a desperate times, desperate measures, Chris, because I haven't really been playing anything that interesting at all. I will say I have finally been able to catch up with Jonesy, although not yourself, sadly, with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's... It's called Shredder's Revenge, right? Or is that...
Yeah,
Shredder's Revenge. I had a moment there of like, have I written down the right one, or have I written down like Turtles in Time or whatever? I don't know. As Jonesy, much to his frustration as we were playing, I don't really know anything about the Turtles. I think I can say all four of the names, but I can't say who's who.
Who are you playing as?
I don't know.
What colour?
I had a nunchuck, and I think I was orange.
Yeah, Michelangelo.
Okay, there you go.
He's a real cool dude.
Yeah, he his power. So they have a button that you can press where essentially you refill your power bar, and you're able to do your special move. And they have a little animation. And my guy did a little shuffle dance, which I thought was very cool.
Very on brand for you.
Yeah, but also slightly more on brand was one of the guys like squats, turns his back to the camera, and starts eating pizza. And that is a move I like to frequently pull out as well. It's just kind of like
wouldn't that be Michelangelo as well?
No, I think that's Raphael. I think
that was what Jonesy was that, or was that what Steph was doing?
Steph was doing, but then because I was Donatello, and Donatello like sits down, pulls out a calculator, and starts going. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah, but it's cool. Like that kind of surmises some of the charm and the throwback appeal that TMNT has going on. I think Josie talked about it a fair amount last week, and there's nothing I can really add to that conversation other than say that even with having little to no nostalgia for classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games of old, or even the IP in general, it's still a fun beat-em-up / brawler with, a slightly more developed move set, and it doesn't quite get into like fighting game combos territory, but there's a little bit more going on with the moveset than I thought. Environmental variety is fun. It has that thing where like every couple of levels where you think, oh, I've been punching a lot of people, and now you're on a jet board or whatever, like a hoverboard or whatever. Again, I don't know the show or the whatever it even originally was. So, but yeah, it's cool.
How would you rate it up against, what was it, Streets of Rage 4? That was like a few years ago.
So I had a good time with Streets of Rage 4. I think
you even referenced it while we were playing. I think you actually said because you played it with Steph, didn't you?
That's right. I played it through with Steph, and obviously there aren't that many games in that sort of old school beat 'em up genre being made nowadays, and so I think it's natural that you kind of refer back to each last one you played, And I had a good time with Streets of Rage 4. Again, had no nostalgia for even that genre to a certain extent, because it's something that kind of didn't really bridge the gap between arcades and then early consoles and stuff like that. Like growing up with the PS2, you weren't playing a lot of side-scrolling beat-em-ups anymore. Just kind of had died out to a certain extent. And for that reason, they both occupy a similar territory in my mind. I think what TMNT has going for it is a little bit more of that charm. I'm not going to call it self-awareness, because it's not really self-awareness, but it's just a few more nods, or what I gather or presume are nods to other elements within the TMNT universe. There are even characters that Jonesy hadn't heard of, and we were looking them up, and they were like, oh no, they were in this part of the show, or they popped up in this one episode, and so there's clearly a lot of love that's baked into that experience, and it was on Game Pass, so...
Yeah, free, baby.
So we played it.
Did you guys finish it?
No.
I think from what I remember, I think we're about a third of the way through or so. So because we said about finishing it off, and maybe one more session, maybe two more sessions, so we could probably finish it off.
Nice, yeah.
We played about an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, that kind of tracks with what I've heard. I've heard it's like a 2.5, 3 hour experience, so could be.
Yeah. If you were to tell me that if we did the same length of session again, we'd be at or near the end, I'd believe you.
Yeah.
The only other thing,
there's only so much you could do with that kind of formula, right? Like,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I'm just waiting for them to do another entry in Double Dragon. Then I'll be fucking all over it. Double Dragon was my jam.
I mean, never say never, right? Like, clearly, there's still some audience for these kind of throwback titles, so
yeah,
why not?
Yeah.
The only other thing I played this week though was obviously Fall Guys recently went free to play, and I had not played it since it's gone free to play. I also don't think I'd never ever played the native PS5 version, and so I was like, okay, let's check this thing out. And it was partly because I think, as I discussed before, I had this idea in my head that in the 2 years since we played our allotment of Fall Guys, they'd just been adding more courses and adding more variety and adding more content, and then I'd go in to find a drastically different looking game. And in some respects, it was very different. Like the UI and the UX have changed a lot in those intervening 2 years. In so much as that, like, hey, surprise, surprise, it feels a lot more like a free to play game now. Like that main menu, like not even like the sort of the menu that you start the game from, for a better way of putting it. The home screen, is just cluttered with like, here's where you can go and do this, and here's where you can click and see an advert for that, and here's where you can go and buy that, and here's how much of this currency you have, and that currency you have, and here's all the challenges you do this week, and the challenges you can do this month, and here's your season pass, and here's this other season pass, and it's one of those games now. I think the thing, though, that stuff doesn't distract me too much anymore. I think we've all built this sort of like innate ability now to ignore the parts of a UX that just aren't relevant to us, especially in free-to-play titles. The part that was disappointing is I played a handful of games, and in my first 2 games, on one of them, the first level I did was the first level you always used to do. Like, one of the ones you always used to do. It was the one where like the penultimate challenge was you're jumping for all these circles with a big stick that comes, that come around slowly and stuff like that. I did the one where the 2 big sticks are going round, and the first 2 final challenges I got to back were both Full Mountain or whatever it's called, like that OG one where it's just like you run to the very end. No, the one where you run to the end, it's going up and balls coming out and you jump and grab the crown.
Oh, yeah.
That one,
it is what I wanted to.
Yeah,
so it's like this. I remember this one and like that honeycomb dropping thing. I think they were like the only 2 in the game at the start when we played, and like it's still the only one I'm getting, and so I'm not sure if there's elements where it's like. Sorry.
No, there was one where you were split up into 2 teams. And you had to and they like golden balls, and there was tails or something. And
there was something
like that.
There was one where you had to grab a tail off someone else and like have a tail when it ended. There was one that was like Rocket League, so it was like football basically.
Yes.
There was one where there was like 3 teams, and you were trying to get your ball to drop all the way to the very end of a hill and like stop other people's balls rolling. Like I didn't see that much of those team ones in my time. I guess I was just bummed out that like one of the end games that I remember being like one of the only 2 that I played 2 years ago was, for a point, the only one I got playing 2 years later. And I don't know if there are weird rotations around maps, and maybe I timed my return to the game poorly, or if maps are sort of split up into different sections, because now you have to outline whether you're playing solo or in a group or duos and all that kind of stuff, because it's far more equipped for co-op than it used to be. But a bit of one of those weird returns where I don't really know what I was expecting, and I tried not to get my hopes too high, but I went back to Fall Guys, and it was Fall Guys. And the maps that were there 2 years ago are not only still there, but you will still play probably more of them than you'd like to.
Yeah, which is that's disappointing.
It was the the team maps that I never liked. Like I liked it when the individual, like everyone against everyone ones. It was the ones where you had to like get the tail and stuff that I must admit I wasn't as keen on. Like the football ones.
Yeah, I agree.
Not surprised to hear that it's just the same game that it always has been. It's just now free to play. It's not that surprising.
But hey, I mean, free to play seemed to have worked out for them, right? They put out a tweet. Yeah, was it yesterday? That said that they've hit 15 million players. Like mental.
Yeah.
Clearly something's going right. Like with all the criticism, sure, something's going right. But I remember when they came out, it was such a big deal because they had such a smart strategy for kind of launching it and with the streamers and the keys and
they did the temporary free to play thing on PlayStation, didn't they? When it first dropped, because you could play it.
Launched as a PS Plus game.
Yeah. So they did a lot of things right, and then there was a lot of there's a lot of fucking like hope and talk about it, and they had this thing where they auctioned off some of the ideas for costumes, and the biggest charity that do the costume, whatever. I mean, they must have done that. They wouldn't be around if they didn't do it. Um, but yeah, like it's just kind of it's kind of like this thing that's just there now, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's Fall Guys.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But in some respects, good for them, right? Because like,
for sure.
Us sitting here 2 years later and going, yeah, it's there, it's Fall Guys, is still more than we occasionally gave them credit for at the time, where like people thought
100%.
that this game would be dead on arrival, and it couldn't be further from it.
I was probably the loudest voice of us when it came to that. I was like, it's good, but it's gonna fizzle out and die and etc. But yeah, man, like fair play to them. They created a game that was always fun, just maybe not full of depth as maybe we were wanting, but you can't fault them for that. It's not like they released a bad game.
No, far from it. Far from it there. I think they nailed everything they're going for. It is, again, all I can really talk it to is my experience returning to the game after almost 2 years away, and kind of how much I thought might be different versus how much is, not to the game, overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of get that recently with like some reason it's been popping up in conversations and stuff. But Among Us is just like also still this thing that's just kind of like trundling along.
Yeah, I know even less about that.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's still like fucking wildly popular. But it just doesn't. It seems to have like just disappeared, and it's. But what I'm saying is like I'd be watching streamers or whatever, and they'd always like reference it or mention it. Or I'm just hearing fucking those words over and over again recently. I don't know why.
I tried to watch an Among Us stream maybe a month ago, and there were parts of it I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, this is clearly a new mechanic or a new rule set or something. But like, there was right. At one point all the characters and all the players, I guess, had roles, and they all had different titles, and like there were like people who would like. I don't know, that people were given certain privileges almost within the game as a result of so it wasn't just as simple as like, are you the murderer or are you innocent? It was like there were other people, and like, it was very confusing. And some people could see whether other people were something else, and like, I couldn't quite keep up with exactly what was going on just after a glance.
And they've announced Among Us VR as well, obviously, which is an interesting kind of take on things. But yeah, are any of the big streamers still playing that?
I think it's one of those things where they do it every now and then, but they'll do it because they've all unanimously decided to do it at the same time. And so you have one night where 10 big streamers are all playing it, and, for that reason, they're all going to be fine. It's like... Yeah. Because I don't think that game is unpopular enough that people don't watch their favourite streamers play it. Like, it's clearly still extremely popular. It's just maybe not as in the mainstream.
That makes sense though. Like it had a massive like summer or year or whatever, and then everything kind of goes off the boil a little bit. But I still hear people talking about it. But like you said, I haven't seen it anywhere near the sort of just general people playing it like they used to. But it's a weird thing with games like that as well, because as you try and improve on them and you add new rule sets, like you were saying, Jamie, I wonder if part of the problem is it almost loses that global accessibility. Like, I tell you who I still hear loads of people talking about Among Us is like kids at my son's school. Right. They're all young. And I wonder if like kids like that, the second they make it more complicated, they're just going to stop playing it as well. They're probably going to stop watching their streamers play it as well, because it's almost like it's less accessible. Like I said, it's less accessible. And if it's less accessible, they don't play it as much. But you keep the audience, you keep the core who do play it playing. So it must be a difficult one.
I'm just looking at the directory on Twitch, and
I was doing that as well.
Yeah, they're on 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth row at the very end, just above Elden Ring, but behind The Quarry.
Yeah,
I mean, like
I think there it puts them in the top 40, right? Games.
I mean, that's still pretty good, right?
Is right?
Still not bad.
Yes, yeah.
Given how tiny they were when they started, that's still pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. So the biggest stream on at the moment is 3K viewers.
Right.
I guess so.
Yeah. And that's one of those things where like a big streamer will have a sweat, like, because you mentioned the quarry is right above it at the moment. Like, looking at the quarry is boosted by the fact that the biggest person playing the quarry right now is almost double the size of the biggest person playing Among Us. So, basically half of the quarry's total numbers are coming from one dude at the moment, a Polish guy, weirdly enough. And then,
Interesting. Very interesting.
The biggest game on the entire on Twitch right now, Jonesy, can you guess? It's pertinent to a conversation we've already had today.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, you smashed it. You got absolutely
239,000 people watching people doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roleplay right now.
Roleplay?
Yeah, roleplay's the big clue. Like, this is the reason why this game is still massive on Twitch, primarily. But
are you seriously struggling with this, Jonesy?
Oh, what are you being serious? Was the one you're saying we have just talked about it?
Yes, it's pertinent to a conversation we've had today. It's massive on Twitch because people do roleplay in it. How many games could this be?
I'm sure I don't want to get it wrong on the guess. I'm trying to think.
I think it's okay to.
I'm assuming it's going to
get it wrong.
Is this going to be I was going to say it's going to be Fall Guys or GTA, but I don't know.
I mean, go with your gut.
I'd say GTA.
Yeah, you're right.
But then I was thinking like roleplay. What are they roleplaying in GTA?
Oh, bro!
My God,
RP servers on GTA Online is where it's at.
GTA RP is massive.
But so what do they do? Like someone says, "I'm a cop," and then me and my boys are gonna chase you down and arrest you. Like, is that what they do?
They have like specific servers that like have their own built-in mods to like so that they've got their own like currency and economic systems. They've got like items that don't exist in the game and inventories and stuff. And yeah, people
when you're so removed from something that you're like, how does that? I genuinely am like, I don't even get it. I need to like go and see how that works.
Yeah, but for your information, in terms of games, not categories, but just games, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 8th most popular game is Fall Guys at the moment.
I thought Fall Guys would be up there just because it was new and free to play, but GTA roleplay, that is impressive. I'd love to see the most popular roles that people like to play.
I mean, but a lot of it boils down to cops and criminals, but like
yeah, and doing silly shit. I'm quite happy to see that Apex Legends is the second most popular game.
Oh, okay.
Nice. It's nice to see. Huh?
Oh, Apex Legends. I thought you said Epix Legends.
No, Apex.
I was like,
it's GTA 5, which will be GTA Online, Apex Legends, League of Legends, Valorant, Fortnite, Counter-Strike. That's the top.
Valorant. Wow.
Jonesy.
Yeah, Jonesy's like a Valorant denier.
Yeah, your shtick of like not believing Valorant's popular just
dead game.
It got old a long time ago.
Dead game. 136,000 viewers on.
Dead game.
But funny enough, I see way down on this, like towards the end of the second column, is Warzone. Not surprising, but also kind of surprising. What's the state of Warzone? I heard that like a lot of the cheats have just gone free, and it's just like destroyed the fucking game.
Oh wow!
I can't really speak too much of that, to be honest. Again, mostly playing on console, I didn't get too much of the cheating experience. Especially now our group is kind of fractured a little bit. We don't have as many people on PC that we might play with, where we'd have to turn crossplay on and experience those downsides. I can say that they're trying. That after the nightmare and the mess that was the launch of the Caldera map, they've done a lot to try and improve the quality of the game, and they've had a lot of cool ideas. And they did launch an entirely new map this season, actually. Not a big map like Caldera or Verdansk, but one of the new smaller maps that they do. For me though, it's just lost a lot of its appeal because I've fallen off like keeping up with the guns and keeping up with the meta and keeping up with like just basic map knowledge. And the other thing that happens, and Chris, like I'm sure you've experienced this plenty of times over the years with Dota 2, for example, which is that if the total number of players playing a game drops, the percentage or the concentration of high-level players increases because they're less likely to stop playing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So like if, I don't need to do the numbers.
Yeah, currently Dota is the next game behind Warzone. So
right, there you go. And so I was going to say it could have been a weird placebo effect, but that's what we were experiencing as we were going back in and being like, we feel like noobs now because we don't have the good guns and we don't know this map at all. But the people who are still playing Warzone every single day are the people who are most committed to being very good at Warzone. There aren't many people like us who are like, oh, let's go and have a random like dabble in a game we haven't played for 6 months. And so we get shit on for an entire night, and we're like, why do we bother?
It's also in that weird position, right, where it's like they've fucking stalled pretty much on meaningful Warzone updates, and they've announced Warzone 2, so it's like,
yeah, exactly. And so you know that nothing you do now, nothing you unlock, especially nothing you purchase, like has any relevance beyond this year now.
Yeah, it's interesting, man.
To be fair, those people that are really committed to it are also really committed to their sex pillows and their OnlyFans accounts. So
who isn't? Josie, I played Warzone for like 18 months, basically every single day. So just be careful what you say here.
Yeah, you're who I'm talking about.
And he dry humped his sex pillow like every single night afterwards, okay?
It's a Garrus Vicarian sex pillow, wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you?
Maybe.
Okay.
With his old lizard head.
Oh.
Yeah. Mate, you should see the things he can do with that tongue.
Oh, lovely. Moving swiftly along.
Oh no, I had a question. But while you're on that, while you're on Twitch thing, I did have a question because I saw a story and I was like, that's interesting. The numbers for Battlefield 2042 apparently are actually pretty healthy and surprising a lot of people, especially I think someone compared it to how well the multiplayer for Halo Infinite is doing, which was apparently much worse. There's a headline I saw, which if you've still got it open, that would be an interesting one to see, because obviously everyone thought Battlefield would sort of die on its arse pretty quickly, and it kind of hasn't.
I can't.
Oh, they both did.
I can't see it.
But it's also always interesting with these things to like the creator swing, which is that, like, again, this might just be the channels that I'm tuned into, but I feel like I'm weirdly enough like more familiar with hardcore committed Battlefield creators than I am Halo creators.
Right.
And sort of like, if the people who are never going to stop playing Battlefield are just more popular online than the people who are never going to stop playing Halo, then you could have a bit of a built-in disparity there that's not representative of the overall popularity of the game. But then obviously that's a fringe case. Although I'm with Chris, I'm not really seeing anything at the moment.
I mean, I'm pretty far down.
Halo Infinite has 1.4K viewers, which is low. That puts it between Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and V Rising, for reference.
Where is this fucking game? Am I just missing it?
Maybe. Oh no, it's there. It's got Battlefield 2042 is 838 viewers, which puts it between The Last of Us 1 and Hearts of Iron 4.
Right. I was just trying to find it on Steam to see what the Steam concurrents were, and neither of them seem to be on Steam. So
yeah, so basically on Twitch, neither of them are doing well. Halo's doing better than Battlefield, but neither of them are doing well.
Hold on, it's not even on Steam though, is it? Is Halo Infinite even on Steam? Is Halo Infinite on Steam?
No, it wouldn't be.
Or is it? Because it was.
Oh no, it is.
It's because it's free to play. Like
that's what I was wondering. I was like, would it be? But it is actually on Steam. So.
Dude, I mean, Heroes of the Storm, Steph's favorite game, that dead game has more viewers than Battlefield 2042.
All right, that headline must have been a bit of a freak. That must have been a freak day when it was doing particularly well.
Dude, the eFootball PES 2021 season update has got 947.
But again, like that could be one popular Twitch streamer who's just like, I only play PES, and he has to go live, and he's yeah, that's true. Like that's the weird thing about Twitch as a metric.
No, you're absolutely right, because 910 viewers are watching one stream.
Yeah, exactly. So like.
That's so true. How Twitch can just look really strange like that, because one person.
Twitch is weird, man. Like as soon as you start going past like the second row, maybe even the third row, then it's like all bets are off, really.
So I just need to get in contact with one of the top 10 biggest streamers on Twitch, and I need to convince them to play Evolve. But even though the servers have all closed down, and then we can get it to be one of the biggest Twitch games of the year.
Hear me out, Jonesy. Evolve roleplay.
Evolve roleplay, I like
Evolve
it.
RP, but you play as the monster.
You're my roleplay as the monster.
Yeah,
I like it.
And if you break RP, you get banned.
Yeah. Okay, go on, Jonesy. What have you been playing?
Do you know what? I've done something dangerous. So I've played a few games.
You set off a firework in your bedroom.
I did that, and then I played some games to make it more exciting. Catherine will. I set one off right behind where I was playing.
Pikachu
So I got onto the PlayStation Plus, as I said last week, and I sort of had a bit of a delve into it for the first time. So I started playing Returnal, which was I've played a little bit more of that this week. But one of the things I wanted to try was the trial system and the way that PlayStation Now on Plus allows you to download a game and play a couple of hours of it. So I've played 2 hours of like 4 different games, and it's a dangerous system. It is really. I tell you for why. It's because I can absolutely see to a point. So one of the games that I have been playing, and I played for about an hour, was Biomutant, which was literally today. Much better game than I thought it was going to be. Much more interesting story, much more interesting world. The combat's kind of simplistic, but the game looks really pretty. It's got a much more kind of like pseudo Japanese or like Eastern martial arts kind of influence, which I had no idea about. And some of the combat and some of the story really enjoyed. Thought it was really good. Then made the mistake that I left it on. Paused.
And you ran out of your thing. Yeah,
I've only got 5 minutes left now of the 2 hours. So realistically, I'm like, if I want to play more of this game, I have to actually buy it. I have to actually put money into it. So I can, and
or it might just be on Game Pass or something.
No, like I mean the Dangerous, not that game, but the Dangerous is in. That's what they're going to get you to do all different games. So for example, because Biomutant, is one that you can play on Game Pass, but then Hot Wheels is another game.
Is Biomutant on Game Pass?
I thought Biomutant was on Game Pass.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it did go to there. Maybe it's gone now, or maybe it's still there.
I feel like I would have played it if it was.
There was a way to get Biomutant. I remember specifically there was a way to get Biomutant. But
I thought there was, because I remember thinking I might play it and then thinking, actually, I don't think I'm going to. And then I saw it on trials and I was like, oh, yeah.
I don't know if this was good what you say, but I was like, one thing I was going to point out was that the next gen version of that game comes out in 2 months. Like, it's going to get a PS5 and a Series X re-release in September.
Which is,
but I don't recall. I feel like I would have played it if it came to Game Pass. Unless
it's not. You're right. No, it's not. I've just checked.
Maybe it was Epic Games or something. I could have sworn there was a way to have played it from one of these services at one point.
Maybe it was like a Steam trial weekend or something. There was definitely some way you could play it, because I was thinking, I was like, I might play that, and then I didn't. I can't remember. I
clearly missed out on that.
I think maybe it was a weekend or something. But no, Biomutant, really enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. But then played some Hot Wheels as well, and my kids were playing Hot Wheels, and that is a fun ass game as well. But another game that I was like, got to the end of the 2 hours, and my kids are like, "Oh, can we play some more Hot Wheels?" I'm like, "No, because it's a trial and now it's ended." And I can just see it being a very clever idea from PlayStation, but potentially really dangerous. For wallets everywhere.
Hot Wheels looks fun, man. But I remember when it came out, and it was like, there was a bit of a controversy around it, because the way that they did some of the upgrade system, or the currency, whatever it was, that people were just creating these like infinite loop tracks to
farm currency.
And it was just like destroying the online play.
Oh, I see.
It's like basically you couldn't get into any lobby that was like an actual race, because it was all fucked.
But then that's another cool one. And the trials. So I've downloaded the trial for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Haven't played it yet. But again, it's another one a game that I've wanted to play, and was like, oh yeah, let me do the trial for it. And then I can, and then if it's really good, obviously. So I think it's a great idea. I think that's a great idea to do that as a trial thing. It's dangerous as anything. But I also did something else this week. I did watch something. I watched Jurassic World Dominion, which was kind of panned and slated across the board critically. I thought I didn't think it was too bad. I thought it was pretty good. It's, when I say pretty good, I don't mean it's as a film. I mean, if you've seen Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, if you like that whole thing, then there's a lot of like service to the fans. There's a lot of like nods to past films. There's a lot of things you'll see, and you're like, oh yeah, that's a good. I like that. I like they've done that. Probably too much, probably to the detriment if you don't get it. If you don't get all the references, I can imagine it almost would seem a bit odd.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like there are certain shots which the shot is a shot for shot remake of something from Jurassic Park, but done in a fun, interesting way. But I can imagine that if you didn't get that's why they were doing it, you just think maybe it was bad direction.
Is that where you think the kind of like critically panned element comes in?
No, I think the critically panned, so the poor element of the films is what the new stuff. So it's not the fan service.
I think
stuff.
Jonesy acknowledged it quite early on where he said, I thought it was pretty good, but it's not pretty good as a film. And I think you could have just left the review there.
So because it's weird. It's good in the sense of,
Is it?
it brings together all the characters that you've like from that world, and it puts them all together. And they have scenes where they like Alan meets Owen and Claire, and Ellie like rocks up and sort of started chatting to Alan. This is really cool to get everyone together again.
Yeah,
and
but
then
that's
they go
why
and they meet
do that
Malcolm
shit, because they don't have any ideas. They don't have a good film, but they're like, but if we bring all these people together, then all the fans will go. Oh, it's like whenever
no, that's literally that's
they
what
can't
makes
keep getting away with it.
They can't. They can't. I agree.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. But so I was chatting to my brother because my brother and I saw the first Jurassic Park film at the cinema when it came out back in '94, and it was one of the first films I remember we both thought were incredible, and we like talked about it for ages. That was an amazing film. This is like not. But then I chatted to my brother about it, and he liked it in the same way that I did. But he went to see it with another friend of his who's a bit younger, and she was like, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was very good because she didn't have any of that nostalgia.
But
some of it's just bad. Like some of it's badly done as well. Like some stuff is a bit crap.
But I wonder if like what do kids feel about it? Do you know what I mean? Because like you're saying about going to watch the first trailer, and I'm the same. I went to go watch it in the cinema like fucking multiple times, costing my parents lots of money because they're like, I want to see this movie.
I think kids will find it underwhelming because actually, do you know what there's not that much of is dinosaurs.
Oh, that's bullshit.
So in the sense of, at least with all of the other movies, the main elements are the dinosaurs. The main elements in this are not the dinosaurs. It is the human characters, and it's the human story about like it's the corruption and the dodgy guy who's trying to do the dodgy thing becomes the main element, whereas that was always a secondary thing in the other films. It's almost like a primary thing in this one.
Yeah, in the others, it's almost like a catalyst for all the chaos, right?
Right. And even they've scaled back like the dinosaur specific. So if you think of like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, like the Indominus Rex is like the main big bad in the film, and then you have the human stuff on the side of it. This doesn't have that. This doesn't have a main big bad in the dinosaur.
What is they championing? The
Giganotosaurus. The Giganotosaurus.
And the Therizinosaurus as well.
They're barely in it.
That's man. Like you see, I get annoyed about shit like that. It's like going to a fucking steak restaurant and ordering fish.
If I had to guess the amount of on-screen time for both of those dinosaurs, like I'm not trying to spoil anyone. I'm just giving you an honest opinion of someone who's seen it. It's literally like probably under 2 minutes.
That is mental.
Like they are not that prominent at all. I tell you, completely aside, I really liked. I don't know the actor's name. The guy who plays the main sort of bad guy, who is this who's basically Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all those kind of like tech company billionaires put into one. He's like who's the guy who now runs Apple? Like Alan Cook, is it?
Alan Cook.
No,
not Alan Cook.
It's not Alan Cook.
Not Alan Cook.
Tim Cook.
Tim
Cook.
It's like this actor has put all those characters, and he's really good at it. He's really good at that. Like his portrayal of that character is wicked.
Oh,
I genuinely like it.
Yeah.
Like he's done a good job of, and he acts it really well. I genuinely enjoyed his performance as the conglomerate tech billionaire. But that's most of it is apart from the fan service stuff is pretty forgettable. So unfortunately, but there you go. That's me.
That's you. Yeah. All right. Well, fellas, I have been playing some games. I've been playing Elden Ring, but I'm not going to talk about it because like bang that drum. Nothing much to say. Just kind of like fucking around in the game for a bit. Not even pushing the story along yet. So when I got something more substantial to say, I'll update on that. But what I do want to talk about is it was my birthday on Monday, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because good food, cake, always good things. I got a new microphone, but I haven't had time to set it up. So fuck it, maybe next week. But I did manage to go watch Top Gun Maverick, and yeah, everything you guys said about it, 100% agree. An amazing film, kind of like very throwback, but at the same time very, very 2022.
Yeah.
And then
ironic in a way, comparing that to like something like Jurassic World, which got it wrong, to Maverick, which got it right.
Yeah. The one thing that I found really interesting about Top Gun Maverick is, like, yes, there is a good element and a bad element. So the forces of good, the forces of bad. But there's no antagonist in this film, which I found really interesting.
Yes, it's almost like
antagonistic forces.
Yeah, but not even. It's not even like it's almost like
they'd never name a country, right?
They never name a country.
No.
The country is doing something it shouldn't be doing, sure, but it's also like, but they're just a country doing things. Like it's this interesting thing, and I think that's why it works so well. Actually, it's just like it's this like, if you distill the story, and I don't want to go into like what the story is because if anyone hasn't seen it yet, I mean, you should fucking see it. But if you distill what the story is, it's so fucking simple. Like you could write it out in like 3 sentences.
I tell you what's funny, because I was thinking just then when you said it, like in the original Top Gun, they talk about the MiG. I can't remember what version it is. They would talk about the MiG as being like the enemy aircraft, like MiG. And so
which
at
is
least
Russian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the Russian MiG. So at least you can say that. In this, they just reference 5th generation fighters.
Yeah.
Which kind of leaves it more like stateless.
Yeah.
In that sense, because they just keep going 5th generation, which I got annoyed with how many times they said 5th generation.
And the enemy fighter pilots, you never hear them. You never hear anything uttered by any of the enemy. You don't see any flags. You don't see any even the visors of the fighter pilots, like they're just all blacked out.
I feel like they did that in the original as well, but at least in the original there was a sense of, you kind of got the impression. Well, it wasn't an impression. It was like Russia. They just didn't say it overtly.
Yeah, but the ultimate bad guys in the original Top Gun were the guys selling the faulty jets, right? Effectively.
What?
The whole thing was like the guys were selling jets that had some critical error in them.
In the original Top Gun?
Yeah.
There was no faulty jets.
Yeah, mate. Like that was the whole.
You've literally created an entire plot point which doesn't exist.
Isn't that how Goose dies?
Think so.
No.
Because it was a fault, and then it was.
There's just a fault in his the ejection. There's not a fault in the. There's not a faulty jet.
No,
there's an entire conspiracy plot.
No, but it was because it was the military contract that was given to the Top Gun. Was all these faulty jets, and then that's why they had such issues. I'm sure that was it.
No, man, that's amazing. You've created.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch this now.
An entire plot that doesn't exist in Top Gun. That's mad.
It's amazing.
I love that there was a South African version of Top Gun where they're like, we've got these faulty jets. If we make a lot of money. South African.
Apparently.
We've tracked down the guy that sold them to us. No.
I'm gonna look this up.
No, Goose. So they get into a flat spin off when Iceman pulls out because he won't take the shot when he's chasing Viper, is it? And then the jet spins out and they pop the canopy and then he tries to he can't eject because he can't reach the handle because of the spin and he launches into the roof because he's not clear of the canopy. But there's no fault.
I'm sure there was something to do with the faulty fucking jet.
There must be a scene that they cut out.
At this point, that we've chased away all of our fucking listeners.
No, you can't. No, we haven't. Everyone's in the comments going, either going, Jonesy has forgotten the entire scene of Top Gun, or going, what's Chris talking about?
Well, yeah, this is the thing, right? Like it's either or.
I love the idea there's a conspiracy thread in Top Gun that everyone missed.
And I'm kind of thinking that, like, at the end of the film, they're on they find out the truth. And they're on like some kind of like a Navy base, or maybe it's even a fucking aircraft carrier. And then these guys are like trying to run away. And then
what?
Okay, you know what's happened here?
You've blended together 2 films. What film is this that you're blending together with Top Gun?
Sure, that was Top Gun. I think it's either one of 2 scenarios. It's either one of 2 scenarios. Okay, either I am absolutely correct. Okay,
no, you're not.
Or Oh, so it's either I'm correct and you're wrong, or
No, that's not.
you are correct.
That's not,
and what I am doing is I am remembering like a spoof of Top Gun.
Oh, maybe like what's it called? Hot Shots.
Hot Shots.
Or whatever. Oh, I love it if you're remembering Hot Shots thinking that is the story of Top Gun.
Mate, I mean, I'm another year older, so, dementia's kicking in, so.
To be fair, it's probably been a while since you've watched, I'm guessing, since you've watched Top Gun.
Oh, yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe.
I watched it 3 weeks ago, so I'm pretty sure that I'm right.
Well, there we go. Fucking hell. Yeah, but then again, like I said, you experience the world from a fucking tangent, so who knows?
I want to know if anyone can let us know in the comments down below what film Chris is thinking of. I would be interested because I don't know what that film is, and so I'd like to know if it is Hot Shots.
I'll be well embarrassed if it was Hot Shots.
I don't think it's Hot Shots because Hot Shots is just like a spoof, isn't it? Why would they add the whole weird subplot? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it always struck me that there was a weird thing about fucking Top Gun. I was like, oh, faulty planes, military contracts. It's like, okay, fine.
No, rewatch Top Gun because it's been there's no story in Top Gun. The story of Top Gun is pilots take their shirt off and fight in the air. That's literally the story. The biggest plot point in Top Gun is like he goes and spills coffee on the man in the tower with his flyby. Whoa. Yeah. That's like the biggest story point.
But yeah, other than that, like the reason though I haven't had much time to play games other than a little bit of Elden Ring was in the past week I watched the entirety of the latest season of Stranger Things.
The amount of irony that drips from that sentence is like boggles my mind. I haven't had time to play any games because I've watched 73 hours of television. Is basically what you just said.
Yep.
Yeah, but how can I watch 73 hours of television plus play games?
Here's an idea. You don't watch that 73 hours of television because you stop watching TV shows when they turn bad, which Stranger Things did a long time ago, even if this season is apparently good.
I'll tell you the season's okay. And I kind of feel like that about
that blows my
all
mind
of the
even
seasons
more.
Except for the first season, which is pretty banger. But I enjoyed it. It's a fun distraction and my wife enjoyed it, so fair enough. But the other thing that I did was meet up with you guys yesterday at time of recording. And we had a little bit of a delayed happy birthday to me, hot wings and stuff. It was fun. It was good to see you guys.
It was good, man. It was really good.
In the flesh, IRL, and Martin Ruffle from the Just Interesting podcast. So yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
That's all you got to say, yeah? All right, fine. Absolutely, like we're just
it was. Do you know what? It was a very good time. Enjoyed myself a lot. Ate lots of wings. Got to chat to you guys, which was pretty wicked. I know I had to then skedaddle a bit early, unfortunately, right before you guys started playing some games. And
oh yeah, we went to an arcade bar, which was fun. It was fun. And I also found out that Jamie doesn't like iced tea. So.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think it's more than just I don't like tea in general, which, to be fair, and this makes me look kind of stupid, I knew that before I drank iced tea, but so much of what I was used to was Lipton, like peach iced tea, which I now realise isn't very tea adjacent at all. And the more tea adjacent iced tea becomes, the more it tastes like brown bread and cardboard.
I did enjoy when Jamie tried it and then was like, ugh. I was like, what's wrong? And he went, it tastes like tea. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, the hint is in the name.
But then, to be fair, he did then say, I usually drink as he just said then, he said, I usually drink the Lipton peach iced tea. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's why.
That's just flavored
thing.
That's just flavored piss water, really.
Yeah, flavored piss water, as it turns out then. Very nice. Tea, not so much.
Right, anyway, talking about nice, what is nice is we've finally got a fucking release date for God of War Ragnarok, according to the podcast document I'm reading.
Right. That is the new name for it, Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
That's the Alex Jones special right there.
But yeah, we finally got confirmation after much speculation last week about what exactly happened with the rumored announcements and etc. etc. So it turns out, guess what, guys? There was a PlayStation blog post and a tweet announcing a release date of 9th of November, along with a sweet, to be fair, CG cinematic showing off Fenrir, the giant wolf that brings about Ragnarok.
Hell yeah.
Which is a bit weird because Fenrir is Loki's kid.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
And obviously you found out at the end of God of War.
So's the World Serpent, right?
Oh, and the World Serpent as well, yeah. And isn't the horses as well, the 8-legged horse,
Gleipnir,
is also his kid, and obviously you found out at the end of the last one that Loki is but potentially
you find out that the giants refer to him as Loki, and it's what Laufey wanted to call him.
Yes. Yeah.
You see, I think it is Loki, and I think what happened is that this kid was learning about his body, exploring his body, and just like laying seeds fucking everywhere.
Just impregnating the world.
I was like, there's a sleeping wolf that's going to come on it. There's a horse going to come on it. There's a snake going to come on it. Are you sensing a pattern here?
They shouldn't
have called this Ragnarok. They should have actually stolen the name from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film and called it The Secret of the Ooze.
I like it.
Which, by the way, in that movie, they never explain what the secret of the ooze is.
It's the same as what Jonesy's alluding to.
Yep.
Just hot dripping cum.
Yep. Oh, except Jonesy's is green, like bioluminescent green.
Why mine?
Well, I've seen it. What do you like? Come on.
I was trying to make you grow massive and grow fur. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
Wow.
Yeah.
Freak.
But no, do you know what? I stick by what I said before, though, which everyone's going to probably be annoyed at. Even though we've had a release date, we had a CGI trailer. I still think that we're going to not see it this side of 2022.
To be fair, Jonesy, you know what? Nothing is ever a done deal, as we understand from gaming. We've had plenty of games with confirmed release dates that slipped. So, by all means, pre-orders are now open. There are collector's editions. There is that rumored Jotnar edition where
I don't think pre-orders are out yet. I think they're next week. I believe it's the 15th. They go live.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, sorry, I stand corrected.
So I just in case anyone rushes off from the podcast to go and pre-order and is like,
"Fuck you, Chris!
Chris lied to me." Yeah,
which no one should be doing because we've said multiple times on this podcast, don't pre-order anything ever.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was going to say. You should not be pre-ordering. So fair enough.
This is when Jonesy backtracks everything he said in the past to try and find a way to pre-order the God of War Ragnarok.
Well, not the game actually per se.
Yeah.
I had an idea, which I would like to bring back, giveaway live, which I used to call it. And one of the ideas I did have was to bring back giveaway live and to give away the Jotnar, however you say it, the Jotnar edition of God of War, the collector's edition. Because I watched the unboxing of the two different editions. And I thought they're pretty cool. I think it might be a good thing to give away.
I think they're pretty cool. I just don't necessarily like the design of Mjolnir.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit too bumpy on the top. It just looks a bit weird. It's a bit lame.
For me, it's less the design and it's more, what do I do with a giant 1-to-1 recreation of Mjolnir after I've got over the excitement of only a 1-to-1 recreation of Mjolnir?
You finish the game, you take your balls, you put them on a table, and then you fucking whack them.
I mean, I could do, but then I still remember the day when I was moving house and I stood over my mantelpiece above the fireplace with a black bin liner in my hand, and I took my iconic 9-inch Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs statue and I threw it in the bin.
So there's a massive thing of that is an absolute massive problem of collector's editions, is they're obviously trying to do something and make it special and go, this is really cool. But I think one of the problems is they put together the collection of stuff they have, which is actually quite cool, right? So for example, I think the things I liked with this, the two little wooden statues that you get with both editions, the collector's edition and the Jotnar edition, like they're fun, they're cool, but they're kind of like Jamie said, there's something that in a few years' time you're probably going to bin. Yeah. You get some nicely carved dice, I think, which are wooden dice, which that's great if you do into like tabletop gaming, whatever. That's a nice little touch.
Yeah, but you don't want to pay the amount for the Jotnar edition just for like some fancy fucking dice.
No, but that's what I was going to get at is you've got all these nice little things that you get, like the cloth map, and also the soundtrack on vinyl stuff. They're nice things to have, but they're not worth anywhere near like the amount of money you got to drop for one of these editions. So then they're like, well, how do we take this to the next level? And they're like, I know, full-size scale replica of Mjolnir. And it's like, that is crap though, isn't it? It's good, but it's crap.
But the hint is in the name. It's collector's edition stuff, right? Like, it's for collectors that will put it on their shelf and their excuse me, their gaming room, their streaming rooms, whatever it is, as a display piece. Put it there and never fucking think of it again.
Yeah, and
Like,
I know people who live that life who have in their gaming rooms or with their studies or whatever it is have like it's set up to, and there's some really cool collectibles. My friend Adam, PlayStation Grade, he used to have loads of really cool stuff around his working place. I always remember he had the arm, the red robot arm from Metal Gear Solid 5, and I was like very jealous of that.
Yeah.
See, though, but it's cool in that environment. Like I could see it in that environment. It's cool, but I know that if I had it, it would just be like in a cupboard because I don't have anywhere to display it. Yeah, it's just going to be.
But that's buying into Chris's point. So, like, hey, case in point, you're clearly not one of these collectors, so don't spend probably £200 on this.
Oh, which I absolutely wouldn't do, which is why I thought what I might do is if I start a giveaway again, I'll do it as a giveaway because then actually people who do want it, I don't have to have it, but I can give it away and say, like, people actually want it, but who can't afford it would be able to get it.
Man. You're going for that good karma. I like it. Nice.
I like to buy stuff and give stuff away. What can I say?
What was the last collector's edition you guys have purchased?
Damn, it's been a while for me. I used to do it more often. Trying to think.
Yeah. So we got sent a couple of collector's editions as all time gaming. And the best one I remember was for Mortal Kombat 11. We got like Scorpion's mask. That was
I could tell you what the last one I bought was, and I gave it away.
No, okay, but that doesn't count. Like for yourself.
No, it does. I did buy it for myself, but then I gave it away, which is the Pit-Boy from Fallout 4.
Oh right, yeah. Okay, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I bought that really stupid one for Watch Dogs. I bought the GTA 5 one.
Right, yeah.
I bought the Destiny 1 one. I don't think I've bought one since I lived in this house, which so like 7 years at least.
I did pre-order Cyberpunk, the collector's edition, but then I cancelled it.
To be fair, that was a cool collector's edition. Like that statue, even now with the game being crap, like that's a cool statue.
It's not crap.
Well, maybe not. I don't know.
Jeez.
I've got a Cyberpunk statue, but that's obviously like that's the other thing about like no longer buying collector's editions is that if you're in that YouTube scene for long enough, like we were, you do just get sent stuff. And now I've just got like there's loads of like still got like one of the things I rest my drinks on, Chris, is it's a Shadow of Mordor snow globe.
Oh, I had one of them. Yeah.
Like just weird. You just end up with random tat that it ends up being used as exactly that, like a drinks coaster or a bookend. Bookend. That kind of stuff.
Do you know what I was really tempted to get the other day was and I'm so glad I didn't. I think it was like 50 quid, and I would have had to have imported it from like Japan. Was the figure of Sam Bridges from Death Stranding, like the posable one with all the different.
The Figma.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
it is.
Sorry, James.
Sorry, my God.
I was going to say the cool thing with Death Stranding actually was the replica BB. No.
What the full size one?
It wasn't full size. I think it was half size.
Oh, half size.
That was the collector's edition.
Yeah.
I know, Jamie, you were tempted to get the
Red Dead. Yeah.
Red Dead 2.
Yeah. Red Dead 2 was like one of the points where when I didn't buy that's when I realized I'd kind of given up on that side of things. And like part of it, the reason I knew is because Red Dead 2 was made even more appealing by the fact that they had a version of the collector's edition that didn't include the game, which gave me the peace of mind of I can get the game digitally and know I can play at midnight on launch day. And still have this thing arrive in the post maybe even 2 days later. But it was almost like, well, hang on a second. Then 2 days later, I'm going to get a box through with a poster I can't put on the wall, like a deck of cards I'm never going to use, like postcards or photographs that I'm going to look at and go, oh, cool, and then put to once. And so it just kind of became this thing of like, the more you looked at those things in isolation from a game that you've already started playing at that point, it just didn't look worth it. And I remember the Death Stranding collector's edition. I remember the God of War collector's edition, and even the God of War PS4, which I was like, well, maybe I just buy that. Maybe I just replace my PS4 or my PS4 Pro or whatever it was at that point.
Yeah.
Digital ownership has changed that a lot as well, because I think I've told you guys in the past. I remember GTA 5. Obviously, at that point, I wanted the collector's edition, and I also was entirely physical. And so I bought 2 copies of that game to make sure I played it on launch day. And like now I go digital because like so few places can guarantee delivery the day before, and digital lets you start playing the night before. It feels like. And so it's like if I'm buying it digitally,
and
then I don't
preload and all that, so it's convenient. Yeah,
and so it just made collector's edition seem a little bit like, why risk getting the game like the day after it comes out or something like that if it's something you're really hyped for?
Hold on, Jonesy, didn't you get collector's edition of No Man's Sky?
I think you did.
No,
right?
not the
with the replica.
With the replica
plane.
ship.
No, I got the one below that. I got the steelbook with the art, like the art book, the postcards, and all that sort of stuff. But I didn't get the full collector's edition that came with the ship and
I
things.
sworn you did, yeah.
No.
You guys want to know the last collector's edition I got?
Yeah.
And to be fair, it was
Elden Ring.
No, I would be cool for the collector's edition of Elden Ring with the statue of Millennia. That would be pretty cool. But no, I'll show my age here. Diablo 3.
Oh well, I mean, yeah.
But it was a pretty sick collector's edition.
Yeah.
So one thing I want them to include in the collector's edition, I'm literally looking at right now that they don't include, is I would love them to have included like the side panels for the PlayStation 5 in like a PS5 edition. But they just
should
don't do that.
Yeah,
that'd be
should
wicked.
do that. That'd be cool. Because then it's like actually like get some benefit use out of it.
Or there's a Cyberpunk PS5 covers here. That'd be wicked. I'll be up for that.
That'll be wicked, yeah. They'll match your chair.
Sell out. Corporate sellout.
There you go. But yeah, that's man. God of War Ragnarok. It's exciting, but at the same time, like we were when we were thinking about like the snitches tweet about it that didn't come out to be. I'm not going to go into the speculation of what actually happened, although we do have some clarification on that. But we always thought it was going to be revealed in the state of play, and the most 2022 thing of just being like, yeah, here's a blog post and a cinematic, and yeah, that's what you're getting. I'm sure we'll get a state of play about it soon, but I would have thought that they would have tied it all together. I don't know. What do you guys reckon?
I mean, if you'd asked me a good chunk of time ago, like the nature in which I thought we'd see God of War Ragnarok again and how they were going to kind of roll out that game in the run up to release, yeah, I probably would have petitioned a state of play in there somewhere, because they've shown a trend with, Horizon Forbidden West and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and so on and so forth, at some point saying, hey, here's 15, 20 minutes of this game just running in real time and letting you see what you're in for. But then again, nothing about God of War Ragnarok's promotion and marketing has been predictable at this stage. The timings have been strange, and what we've seen and haven't seen has been at times unusual. And so, yeah, for as much as a state of play kind of made sense, if you go back to last week and look at what the likes of Tom Henderson or the Snitch or Jason Schreier were saying, it became clear that this wasn't a state of play. It wasn't even a gameplay trailer. Like, I know people like to think, like, people can think whatever they want about what happened last week, but everyone who commented on it was 100% right. They just got the week wrong. We knew that there wasn't going to be. Jonesy's pulling faces. Well, I'm going to.
They were 100% right, but they got the week wrong.
Jonesy,
you mean they're 100% right about what they was going to be in it, even though they got the time wrong.
Go back and listen to last week's episode. But yes, we knew we knew that this was going to be a blog post. We knew that there wasn't going to be even a gameplay trailer. Right. We knew that there was going to be a collector's edition and a Jotnar edition, and we knew it was going to come out in November. This was just a confirmation of all the things that were meant to happen last week and didn't for some reason or another. I just don't like we were talking about. I don't know what happens from here. I firmly believe that it comes out on this date. Like I again, anything can happen, like you said, Chris, but I do quite firmly believe that it will hit that date.
Yeah, I'm with you. Although we did say it was kind of weird that the 9th of November is a Wednesday.
9th of November is a Wednesday, and that is a weird one. Like, yeah, especially because like 11 that Friday 11/11 is a nice date, has a good ring to it, and also was Starfield's old date, which would have been a nice little gut punch. So I don't know why they didn't just jump.
Interesting thing I heard about that from a bit of an insider is Todd Howard was so set and really, really trying so hard to have it 11/11/22 because here's his reasoning, okay? Because it doesn't matter where you are in the world and how you format your dating.
Oh, right, I see.
It's the same day.
Whereas
in other words, like month, day, or day, month. It's the same
whereas
day.
this has already created confusion because people look up the 9th of November and they're like, well, this is a Wednesday. Is this game coming out in September? And they flip it and they're like, well, that doesn't make sense
September
either.
11th. I mean,
yeah.
we got to start flipping the narrative there, fellas. You know, take a negative, turn it into a positive.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it would do it for me. Like, I'd remember and never forget.
We were saying that obviously it's that Starfield was supposed to come out then, but Forspoken was supposed to come out then as well, and Forspoken's now been bumped.
Yes. Surprise.
Yeah.
I feel like Jamie wrote this podcast document because it says seemingly related. You didn't?
I did not.
Oh, this is even better.
I'm actually insulted that you think I wrote. Never mind.
Well, okay.
What? How would I? Okay, you know what?
I swear this sounds like you to me, but actually, I don't know. So this is what it says on our podcast document. Okay, so someone wrote this, and apparently it's not Jamie, it's not me. Wonder who it could be. And it reads, seemingly related, a Twitter post has announced that Forspoken, the ultra-realistic air-running, fuck-saying Gen Z girl dragon game, has been pushed back to January 24th, 2023.
Accurate description.
If I had written this, the T in Twitter would have been capitalized. That would have been a hyphen between ultra and realistic. And I wouldn't have written the words "fuck" saying Gen Z girl dragon game has been without even a lick of punctuation.
You make a very good point. Alex Jones's strong points are many, but grammar is not one of them. Mister gets tripped over by a comma. No, but the reason I thought it was you, Jamie, because you and I kind of tend to probably come down on the same feeling on Forspoken, whereas I think Jonesy was a lot more keen on it. No, am I wrong?
I don't know.
I think you might be misremembering
on it.
Am I pulling another Top Gun?
I think you might be. I think we were all. I
thought you were well amped for this game.
For Forspoken, no. Like Forspoken to me looked like a. We were saying it looked like one of those Unreal Engine 5 like demo showpieces where it's like, it's not really a game, where it's the transversal seems like ludicrous. Like it's like she's not even in the game. She's like almost just overlaid over the top after the fact, and they're like, how do we get her to move around? Just have her run through the air. It's like, that'll work.
As the developer is like, for some reason her feet keep clipping through the ground. It's all right, I'll fix it. She's floating now.
She's flying.
Okay.
She can run in the sky.
Okay.
No,
fair enough.
This game to me seems super weird. Like, I think this game, from everything I've seen so far, I'm like, probably needs another 5 years of development, like, to make it the game that it probably should be.
Yeah, but it's a weird one, man.
Weirder still is that, like, here's Jonesy talking about needing another 5 years of development, but when you look at this, and as much as we joke about it being released the same week, in fact 2 days after God of War Ragnarok, Square Enix have called it a strategic decision. And if you look at their full post, they're like, oh yeah, the game's 100% done. We're just polishing and bug fixing and all that kind of stuff. We'd rather put it out in January. Yeah,
which is a fair fucking thing. Especially in our post cyberpunk world. Like, yeah, sure.
I like that they say, because their post says, as a result of ongoing discussions with key partners. I'm like, that just makes me go, who are
that key
these
partners,
key
the fucking
partners?
CEO of Sony going,
I mean, Sony and Square Enix are in bed on a number of different matters. There may well have been a thing where they're like, hey, we're going to release our game 2 days before yours. Like, if you guys want to budge up, then that's totally cool with us. And they were like, yeah cool.
Yeah, man.
According to Jones, it won't matter. God of War Ragnarok's going to get delayed, and the Square Enix is going to get, look stupid.
If it gets delayed, I'll only accept it if it gets delayed on January 24th, 2023.
No, so what I've said all along is it's going to get delayed until Feb, like probably mid-Feb sometime, and so which case means that Forspoken's supposed to be coming out Jan 24, then God of War is going to come out of a new release date of Feb, and then they're going to go, and then they're going to then you're going to see another blog post. As a result of even further ongoing discussions with key partners, we've decided to push this game until March.
Jonesy, I'm curious, okay? It's almost like the overwhelming amount of evidence pointing towards the game actually coming out at this time. what is making you so sure still? Is it because you think that we still haven't, quote unquote, haven't seen gameplay?
It's because we haven't. Yeah, it's basically that we haven't really seen anything past the first trailer that had gameplay in it. We've seen nothing. I tell you one thing that changed my mind a little bit this week was seeing when they did the reveal of the collector's editions. They actually did in the unboxing. They had the actor who was Thor like to do it and to like reveal stuff. And I did think, even though they haven't shown the gameplay, if they're to the marketing point where they're getting in the actors from the games to come and do stuff, they're obviously far enough down a line. And then it actually, and a conversation I had with you guys over your birthday, Chris, was something that actually then was like, actually, that's an interesting bit of turn of events, which is that Thor: Love and Thunder, the Marvel movie, came out really recently. And so what we were sort of saying, what I was saying as well was it is actually completely possible that one of the reasons they haven't pushed the game anymore is A, they don't need to, because if it is going to come out, they've got plenty of time still for the marketing, whatever. And B, they can wait for some breathing space after the marketing for Thor: Love and Thunder, because it's an unknown quantity. And what they don't want to do is sort of do their big announcement, their big reveal, and it kind of gets messed up. Because let's say Thor is one of the biggest things everyone starts talking about, which is an absolute possibility. What they don't want is any online crossover where people are getting confused about stuff, and some of the trending is like Thor is trending, but you don't know if it's trending from Thor: Love and Thunder. You don't know if it's trending because of the game, and I think maybe they just want some space. And I was like, okay, you've got the actors doing PR stuff. You've got Thor: Love and Thunder coming out, which is now, I think, is it this weekend it comes out, or next weekend Thor: Love and Thunder comes out?
It's out today in the UK, tomorrow, or time that this podcast will go up in the States.
Then you get the whole thing of Corey saying, I want to show you, but I can't. It's not up to me. It's higher ups at Sony. So then if I put all of those things together, I'm like, okay, I can get behind the idea that they're totally ready to go on everything, on a state of play, on gameplay, on everything. But what they just want to wait until they get some breathing room. And I think as well, Jamie was saying when we were out as well, that there was talk that they wanted to get clear of the Roe v. Wade thing as well. They wanted to like not get caught up in political stuff going on. They thought, no, let's wait, let's give it. And all of that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. So
I think when you look at God of War Ragnarok, and I apologize, I'm trying not to say anything that we've said in recent weeks. I know it's been a big topic of conversation. Like when you look at it in relation to a release date in November, which is still over 4 months away. The actual release date is not the month of November. And look at like what more do you feel like you need to see or that we haven't seen? Like even on the kind of the arbitrary checklist, imaginary checklist of things that games need to do in a certain time frame, which of course never actually exists. There isn't much more that that God of War's missing. So there's this weird mystique around this game about it being AWOL, no one knows where it is. We haven't seen this, we haven't seen that. A lot of it really is almost want to say imaginary. And I think it's when you're a big fan of a game and you're looking for forward to a title, it's very easy to conflate what you want to see from a game and what you desire to see from a game and what you need to, or what a game should be showing. And like we've spent the last 7 years talking about how Fallout 4, revolutionized the industry by announcing in June and releasing in November. And now we're getting pissed off because it's July and we haven't seen a 20-minute state of play filled with uncut gameplay. For a game that we've known about for years, I've seen CG trailers, we've seen story trailers, we've seen gameplay trailers, we've seen the collector's edition, we've met the voice cast, we've seen the accessibility features of this game, and people are doing these weird mental gymnastics where they're so their overwhelming desire to see more gameplay of this and see more of this game has infected their brains so much that they've drawn some imaginary lines between their lack of seeing gameplay to this game being in some doomed, dire state. And I literally think that Sony need to come out at any point in the next 3 months. Literally, I think they can wait as long as October if they wanted to. And they're like, oh yeah, here's a bit more gameplay. And like, I think the world's at rest.
I don't agree it's imaginary though, because I think if you look at other like first-party games that Sony have done recently, they themselves have pushed the putting out a lot of gameplay a long time. Well, not a long time, but months before.
Yes.
And I think by this point, it's surprising they haven't put out any more, given what they've been like recently.
It's surprising. So what?
So then you have to say, well, then is there a reason that that's the case, or is it just because like there's because they've basically changed their MO. In which case, fine, they've changed it. But you're saying there's an imaginary line. It's like, no, if they've changed something, you're the one who's then speculating that they've changed what they normally do, because you're saying there's no problem with it. It's not going to get released. It's not delayed.
First of all,
it's absolutely fine. Like,
to assume it's what they normally do and would do for every game is in itself an assumption. Secondly, to presume that there's a problem with the game because we haven't seen gameplay at the same time as they're forming videos saying, hey, here's the voice actor for Thor unboxing the collector's edition that's out in 4 months. You're creating a disparity between the lack of gameplay we've seen and the development of the game that simply does not exist. And I remember 9 years ago now, going back to a title that we talked about earlier in the day, being sat in the green room essentially of a weird like kitchen that companies could hire out. But the company when we used to work for was filming a commercial spot in partnership with Marks and Spencer's. I don't know if either of you remember this. And I would
a cooking thing.
Yeah, it was like a one-off cooking thing that would like.
Yeah, I remember this. I think I edited it actually.
Yeah, you probably did, and we filmed it in a studio that was another production company at the time that we ended up hiring some people from, and I was invited on that shoot to help, and that kitchen was so small and so cramped that there wasn't enough room for me to stand behind the cameras, so I was sat in the green room, and it was it was mere days before GTA 5 was meant to be coming out, so close to the GTA 5 coming out that I was tempted to go into weird knockoff shops or sort of mum and pop
and see if you could get it.
To see if they'd stopped early. It was that close. And you know what I was doing on my phone all day? Scouring the internet to find even a scrap of clear, uncut, unedited gameplay because we hadn't seen it. And that was Grand Theft Auto 5.
I think the two things that I think are different there is Rockstar are a different beast, massively so. You can't compare them with Sony for how they release gameplay footage, how they push stuff. They're completely different. And also, you go back 9 years, and I don't like. And we were saying times have changed. We're used to people pumping out gameplay footage. So. For example, Cyberpunk obviously got pushed numerous times. How much did they milk the gameplay of that before it came out? And that was a game that was absolutely unfinished that they dropped. I feel like
you're backing up my point that there's no correlation between how much gameplay you see before release and how good a game the state the game is in.
But I'm saying that game was completely unfinished, shouldn't have been released, and they had mountains of gameplay to pump out. But with God of War Ragnarok, considering what Sony have done with Ghost of Tsushima, what they did with Horizon, I would just expect there to be a bit more.
Yeah.
Any gameplay. There's been none.
You've made multiple statements that are completely fine in their own right, that you'd expect there to be more, or you're surprised that no more. If you want to leave it full stop there and drop it, you're completely within your right to feel that way. But but creating an extension of those feelings and trying to draw parallels to the state of the game or the place the game is at in its development cycle, for me, is absolute nonsense. And it's just you incorrectly aligning your expectations and what you want to have seen by now with some arbitrary milestones that video games don't actually have to hit.
Do you know what's great? If it is delayed, Jamie will still absolutely refuse that there was any possibility that at this point the game wasn't in a state that's why there was no gameplay.
Correct.
You absolutely refuse, and he'll say, nope, it was completely fine and ready to go. There's something weird happened, that's why they've pushed it, that was completely unforeseen in July of 2022. I guarantee it.
Correct.
There's nothing else I can say to that.
Well, clearly, you know a lot more about how video games are made and marketed than me.
Nothing else. Nothing else you can say to that.
Okay, to kind of put a cap on this, let me pick your brain, Jamie, because I think you will know about this a lot more. Okay, the God of War 2018.
Yeah.
Okay. When they announced the release date, that was the firm release date, and that wasn't pushed. Is that right? Did they delay 2018 at all? No.
Not that I remember. I remember based on where I sat in the office, it was probably, I think it would have been January of 2018, which means God of War 2018's release date was confirmed 3 to 4 months before the game came out. Stop me if that sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. So, having watched Raising Kratos, we know that the game was delayed multiple times.
Internally delayed, yeah.
Internally.
Yeah.
Now you could take that and extrapolate it to kind of say, in this instance, yes, God of War probably was internally delayed multiple times. Because hey,
it was externally delayed multiple times. The first trailer we saw from this game had a 2021
but when
year on it.
Yeah, I guess they didn't have a firm release date, right?
No, but it missed
This
it.
is what I'm talking.
But it's 1 month. It's 2 months away from missing its initial release target by 2 whole years, technically.
Yeah.
In calendar terms.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But my point is this: I think when they get to the point that they are ready to give a fucking day, a month, and a year, it would seem that this studio is going to stick to that because they have done everything that they need to do to get to this point.
I think that's a fair assumption. I just think that like video games are inherently complicated pieces of media. Like the creation of video games is unbelievably complicated and unbelievably intricate. So much can go wrong at any one time, and so much can go wrong unexpectedly. But when you're talking about the release, the marketing, the promotion of a title like God of War Ragnarok, you're not talking about a small group of developers who are like, oh god, I think we're going to get this done by November. So you're talking about an intricate machine of so many parts. And again, for as much as you have to leave that window open, you have to leave that door ajar for something to happen between now and November, and a push to December, January, February, further. Who fucking knows? Like, I don't think that the people behind whether we were talking about the releases that first party Sony has put out elsewhere, like Jonesy mentioned, or whether you're just talking about the marketing and handling of one of the biggest releases of the year, like I don't think the voice actor of Thor stands there and unboxes a completely finished and signed off and about to be open for pre-order collector's edition for a game. Like communication is better than that, and it's all being handled by people who understand that these things can go wrong and will know, like. If they, there's just a part of me that believes that if they went to Sony Santa Monica and saw that game, like the room knows a game that's not going to come out in November and what that would look like, and I don't think that's what they saw, and so I think that's why everything's going ahead.
Like I said, the thing for me that made me think, actually I don't think it's going to be delayed was the marketing around it and like the actor who did the Thor guy doing the unboxing and stuff. I think they're now in a different place. It does seem they're in a different place, and I think I do think there's more weight to the other stuff which has pushed the announcement back. So, like we were saying, political stuff, bumping into other marketing media for Marvel and stuff. I think that's more likely.
They resisted every urge and every whether it was state of plays that they did have, whether it was the June and the Summer Game Fest, whether it was the anniversary the other month where Corey had to go and film a video where he's like, I know we're talking about God of War, but we've got nothing to say about God of War Ragnarok. Time and time again, they came out and said, yeah, I'm sorry, we're just not talking about it. They have been the most patient and the most silent game developer on the planet almost relative to how much hype there is for this game. They don't just decide, oh yeah, we're going to break that silence for a guess. Like, I think they wait till they're sure, personally. As sure as they can be in video game development terms.
You mean a guess?
Guess or like, oh yeah, it's probably going to come out in November. We're like 70% sure, but like, let's run all the marketing material anyway. It's been so long. We're so bored.
I think the one thing these days that kind of throws a spanner in the works for me, like if you COVID aside, because COVID obviously created absolute havoc for a lot of these companies. And then obviously you've got other issues these days with like tech and how much is like delayed in being able to get certain tech, delay the development process that they never had to factor in before, like, hardware, etc. The one thing that I wonder does make things harder these days is if you are a director, like you're trying to get a game developed and you think like, oh no, 6 months is enough time to finish this game. We can get it done. We will deliver. We're in a different world now to the world of crunch and getting everything done and just making your staff work constantly. A, you can't get the staff is become a real issue. And B, it's like you get such a bad pushback that the idea these days is much more of like, no, take the time you need to finish the game. People will be okay with it. Don't like basically misuse your staff. And I do think there's maybe a little bit of a thing whereby the execs and the directors and the higher ups who back in, who still maybe have a little bit of this, no, we can get it done, have fell foul of their sort of their maybe older school way of thinking and have been pushed into positions where they've had to delay when they didn't think they would. I do think that happens more because we're in like a crossover period, if you see what I mean. So I do think there's more chance of someone like Corey Barlog going, we can get it done, and just maybe being like, Corey, we can't crunch as hard as we used to. We can't quite make that date. I think those things have more of an effect these days than they would have done, where you say 9 years ago when you were talking about JB, like saying about Grand Theft Auto. So I wonder if that comes into play.
I'm just trying to dissect and
so the idea being that, so back in the day, I don't know how long ago you want to go.
You're saying like video game
before the days of crunch.
Yeah, so
before the days of
you're
crunch.
saying that video game companies are now better equipped to avoiding crunch and like more like
no.
sensible release dates
I'm saying
nowadays.
No, the opposite. I'm saying I wonder if there's a sense in some people in the industry still think they can get something done by a certain date.
Again, without being into specifics, I can tell you that for the last few months, everything I've heard from every direction I've listened, new studios that are being revitalized, studios that are on a recruitment push, every single thing you hear nowadays is about game dev 2.0. It's about anti-crunch and zero crunch conditions. Like, and it's not,
yes,
of course, it's not, like the idea.
No, that's what I'm saying is because they now don't do any crunching. I'm asking the question, I'm saying, do you think there's a sense whereby the higher ups who have been in the industry for so long, they think they can get the game done in 6 months? But because who
are these higher ups you're talking about? Like, and why are they calling shots on when a video released?
So, for example, like Corey Barlog, for example,
why would he have a say on when God of War? He does not even directing God of War Ragnarok.
What's it? But he's isn't he like the creative?
He's the creative director of Sony Santa Monica.
So what I'm saying is, do you think there's people like him who, because he's sort of been very consistent online saying like, the game's not getting delayed, the game is coming out, I wish I could tell you, I've been playing the game for X amount of time. I wonder if people like him are like, we can get this game made in 6 months, no worries, we can do it. But do you think there's any possibility of people like him who don't factor in the Dev 2.0, like we're not crunching, we do not crunch, we do it when it's ready? Do you think that comes into play?
But it's not him, and it's no individual, it's a team.
But no, but he's obviously been one of the main voices online.
Yeah, he's the face of it, but it's the team making the. It's not like one person dictates all of that.
So,
shit.
for example, if he was Jason Schreier's contact, and he's like, "No, Jason, we can get it done in 6 months." Do you think that still happens? Like where people like him can just be too optimistic? I suppose that's the thing. They're optimistic about how long.
If he's saying that, it's because it's his team saying that, not him saying that. He's just.
I'm a bit confused by this, I'll be honest.
So I'm just saying the idea of like there's people that are too optimistic about development timeframes.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong. I'm sure there are old school heads in certain video game studios that are used to crunch conditions and still have somewhat like misaligned or like incorrect outlooks on what can be done in a time frame based on perhaps what used to get done in the same time frame.
Exactly, and then HR go, we can't do that.
But again, the idea that someone like that says, "Oh yeah, we can get this done in November," and then like the entire of like Sony Interactive Entertainment it jumps on board and it's like, "Perfect, we'll get the marketing thing rolling." Like, but it just passes through too many hands and too many people.
But you say that, but then. You say, okay, but we say that, and I completely agree with you. That totally makes sense to me. But every game is delayed, it seems these days. So the idea that people know when games are coming out is like, no, they don't.
Yeah, true.
They keep delaying everything. So the idea that there's a team of people.
And God of War has already been delayed, and a game that was meant to come out in 2021 is almost out in November of 2022. We can't keep pretending this was the first stab in the dark that Sony Santa Monica took at this release date, and it would be some crazy pie in the sky thing if they hit it. Like this has been a massively delayed game.
Yes, no, absolutely. So like, the first release date, the first 2021, was that a stab in the dark?
Yeah, that was wildly incorrect.
No, but was it a stab in the dark? Because you're saying they don't just give a stab in the dark. I'm asking, was that a stab in the dark, or do you think there was something very?
I think it was a stab in the dark that was and it was the wrong call. I don't think they should have put a date on it at the time.
But they don't do that anymore.
They might do, because I think there's a part of them that thinks it helps with marketing. Like. Can tell you I would put
putting the date.
I would bet my house on the fact that the first release date we hear for GTA 6 will not be when GTA 6 comes out.
Of course.
What's the thing? What's the saying? Like over promise,
under
like
deliver.
Or you do the under promise, over deliver. Or you do over promise, under deliver. So that almost the first year you give is almost like you give 5 years before when you kind of go. yeah, we can get it done by then. When
to be honest, I'm sorry that I asked why you thought it was still delayed, because that's gone on for like about half an hour. So I apologize to our viewers, because I've put us through that again. I would have thought that we got all the long-winded rants about God of War out last week, but I was wrong, and that's my fault. So I apologize. So let's move on.
No, it's Jamie's fault. Let's keep it. Let's keep it.
No, it's Jonesy and I. But Jonesy and I are clearly oil and water when it comes to God of War. And we just shouldn't bring this game up again until it's out.
Fair. All right. Or until
in 2023.
in February 17th, 2023.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, last story of the day, and let's run through it quick because I'm fucking tired, fellas. Lollipop Chainsaw, of all games, is being remade, which in and of itself is not all that surprising. It's a decent game. It's got a fan base. It's a cult classic, as it were. Jessica Negri was involved in the marketing, as I mentioned before, and it was a good idea. But the weird thing about this is
Chris is going to be thirsty for Jessica Negri when she's like 75 and still shouldn't be cosplaying anymore.
Hey, you know what? She'll still be younger than me, so yeah. That's the funny thing about how aging works, Jonesy, is
fair enough.
Once it's established, it always...
Is she younger than you?
Yeah. I'm old.
What's that really creepy quote? Like, I get older, but they stay the same age, or something like that.
What?
I don't know. There's some weird thing. Like I think it was. I don't know where it must be from a movie, something. But yeah, some guy talking about girls. Obviously, like the best thing about them is I get older and they stay the same age.
Oh, I think I have heard that. I can't think what it's from.
I'm going to look that up. Sorry, go on, Chris.
It's probably some pedophile bullshit. But yeah, the interesting thing about this is both the game's director and the game's writer, the Suda51, and James Gunn say that they have nothing to do with this remake. So,
right, and those are like, the two coolest dudes who made that game interesting to begin with.
Yeah, but I wonder if they're maybe trying to distance themselves from it a little bit. Maybe less so Suda51, but maybe James Gunn is like, I'm going to distance myself from this. I
mean, I probably would too.
If it's just a remake, though, I suppose maybe they don't need to be.
Well, it's one of these weird things where it's a remaster / remake. It's not an out remake.
So it's just the publishers basically said they're remaking it, is it?
I mean, I guess so. If the main creative forces behind it are not involved, then yeah.
So then I suppose, yeah.
So the announcement has come from Kadokawa Games, and they are essentially they were the publishers of the Japanese version of this title. So it was developed by Grasshopper with Suda, obviously. And then Warner Brothers stepped in to publish it worldwide, and Kadokawa were the Japanese publishers. And said that, this is coming purely from the Japanese side, it seems.
Weird
sans Suda and sans Grasshopper.
And sans James Gunn.
Yeah,
now, James Gunn obviously had a lot of the controversy around him, after Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and all this bullshit that he used to tweet and all of that resurfacing. Obviously, he's kind of had a bit of a collective consciousness forgiveness happening there. But yeah, maybe with all of that and that the baggage of his past, he was like, you know what? A game about a high school cheerleader where you get an achievement for looking up her skirt for too long. Maybe he's like, I'm gonna step away, fellas, on this one.
Yeah, we live in a different world.
Yeah, if he was even approached. But yeah, I've seen articles saying oh, Lollipop Chainsaw was a good game, but is it really a game that needs to come back now?
See, I don't know if I agree with the fact that it's a good game.
It is a good game, and I don't necessarily agree with the fact that it shouldn't be coming out as a remaster.
I played a bit of it. I remember playing a bit of it, and
it was so average.
It was fine. Yeah, it was fine, but it wasn't any. I think it was more of the cult.
It's a good game.
It's just come back because of the cult.
I'll put it this way as well. Like one thing you would say as well is that Suda, I think, was one of the directors of the game. James Gunn was one of the writers of the game, obviously on the English language version. I think it's a mosquito. Fuck. If they remade this game shot for shot and use some of if they Last of Us Part 1 to this game, then in theory James Gunn and Suda51's work could come across mostly intact, and you'd have a version of Lollipop Chainsaw that could shine in its own right. The problem was no version of Lollipop Chainsaw will ever shine because it is a 6 out of 10 outdated action
savage
game. I mean,
I feel you're just very
the-
salty from your arguments with Jonesy right now. And I think you're unfairly taking it out on Lollipop Chainsaw.
I don't know. I just think it's a really, really average game.
I find it weird when it comes to remakes or remasters. Like, if it's a remaster, who cares that Suda and James Gunn aren't involved? Like, it's so what? It's just
true.
a remaster.
If they're just upraising textures and maybe like, but I know that they have to redo the soundtrack because of licensing issues.
Yeah.
And even if it's a remake, like, even if it's mostly a remade game, if they're going to do like Jamie said, and they're going to do shot for shot, like, again, it doesn't make any difference. Like GTA trilogy remake, like, how many of the actual Rockstar people that have made the original were even involved in that? Like,
yeah,
Jonesy's giving me the idea of just imagining like the Criterion Collection version of a remaster where you get a sticker on the front saying like the upgrade in resolution was personally approved by James Gunn. Like,
yeah, like, exactly.
We got the original director of this game to approve the way we redid the colors.
Yeah, like I don't see there's almost some weird thing. It's like, do you know what it's like with Maverick when I can't remember, Kelly McGillis, is it, the actress who played what's her name, came out and was like, no one even approached me to be in this. It's like, so what? Like, it's not like, okay,
yeah,
like, if it's so Lollipop Chainsaw's being remade.
You know what, Jonesy?
It's being remade. You don't need to go to James Gunn and Suda 51.
This is the most reasonable thing you've said this entire podcast.
Thanks. Just for clarity, Lollipop Chainsaw got 67 from critics on Metacritic.
Yeah, which Jamie said.
Jamie was bang on. Jamie said it was a 6 out of 10 game, and he was right.
I remember that it was came out in a weird time for me for video games, which was like the summer, or like the spring/summer of 2012, which was when I lived for 6 months in the town of Newcastle and didn't have a bed. And so I slept on a mattress on the floor with a TV next to me. And so I just lied there
masturbating to Lollipop Chainsaw.
I mean, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. And a bunch of like the most random games came out that time, like the 360 port of The Witcher 2, Spec Ops: The Line, Mass Effect 3, and it was just this weird roller coaster. And the Lollipop Chainsaw was the low point of that roller coaster, I'm afraid, for me.
Well, any game that came out in the year of our Lord and Savior, Spec Ops: The Line, like,
exactly, you
remake
that game.
Best.
Actually, don't.
I like the headline for this is like Lollipop Chainsaw's being remade, but Suda 51 and James Gunn, so they have nothing to do with it. So I just imagine someone with a microphone, like old school microphone, walking up to them going, "Lollipop Chainsaw's being remade. What have you got to say?" And then like, "I've got nothing to do with it." Like, it's literally, it's not even. True. It's not that they've made an announcement.
That's like if we what's the Twitter account that does like the funny fake headlines that Elon Musk always steals?
Oh, it's a Hard Drive, no?
Yeah, Hard Drive could do a tweet being like, Lollipop Chainsaw is being remastered, but Steven Spielberg and James Cameron say they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, it's that sort of. It's like that's like they haven't done. I always find that really funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, you know,
the most sane thing you've said this podcast, Jamesy. And
Alex, hey, I love the fact that if we hit February of 2023 and God of War comes out, then you two are still going to be like, no, but we were right.
No, that's what's bullshit about this, is Jonesy works himself into these win-win situations, because if this game comes out in November, we're not going to have this conversation again. But the second this game gets delayed, I'm going to be vilified.
We will have this conversation.
And my quotes are going to be intentionally distorted and misinterpreted. And
we will in November. When God of War comes out,
argue about God of War anymore.
Wait, can I challenge Jonesy to put his money where his mouth is again?
Okay, Pistols at Dawn.
Yeah, Jonesy, I'll make a deal with you.
Go on then.
If you want to be able to bring up this conversation again and make me and like bring up if this game gets delayed, like regurgitate all the things I've said, then you have to agree to this deal. You're not allowed to play God of War Ragnarok in 2022.
Why? Why would I? What?
Because you don't think it's coming out.
Right. So why would I? If it does come out, why would I not play it?
Because as a punishment for being wrong and for drawing out this inane argument that you've drawn out for months.
What's your punishment if it gets delayed?
You get to make the argument that you're going to make, and try and use my words against me. And
so if it is delayed, then you're not allowed to play it for the length of time it's delayed for.
Oh, nice. See, now that's getting juicy.
So if it's delayed for a week, you're not allowed to play it for a week. If it's delayed for a month, you're not allowed to play it for a month, etc.
I have to
talk to my lawyers.
Imagine if they delayed it for a year, like Halo Infinite style, as in the date is set in stone. Imagine if Jamie's not allowed to play it for a year.
In the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, we're going to keep on going for another half an hour on this.
Do you know what the sad thing is? It's like I would just play the game and I wouldn't care what either of you two said. I'd just completely ignore you. If you kick me off the podcast, I'd be like, okay, I'm playing the best game of the year.
Wow, such short-term thinking. Why don't you guys put like an actual monetary value to a bet? How about like a $5?
No, I don't think there's any point in doing that.
Just say $5.
Jamie,
it comes out or
there
gets
was
delayed.
the last time there was a bet that had any significant monetary value attached in the form of a PlayStation 5 controller. I won, and Jonesy didn't wish to honour his end of the deal, and I let him off. But
no, I was going to buy. No, that's not true. You've completely mischaracterized that.
I know I have, but I'm doing it on purpose because it's fun.
You scumbag.
If we get to November 9th and the game comes out, you absolutely have every right to say, see, you're an idiot, you were completely wrong. 100%. You saying, like, well, this won't come up again, absolutely.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I know what kind of personalities were. If this game comes out on November 9th, you have the kind of personality where you go, oh, yeah, I know, I was wrong. Tinfoil hat, Jonesy being Jonesy. And I have the personality where if the game gets delayed, you come to me and you're like, oh, I told you. And you do the thing that you do, all the things that you know will rile me up. And you'll know that, like, that I wasn't
me? Say it ain't so.
So, Chris, end the podcast.
No, I fucking got it. Before I end the podcast, how fucking serendipitous is this? We were like, why is it coming out on the 9th, which is a Wednesday in November?
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
A, because it's Wednesday, my dudes. B, because that's a day before we record the podcast. So this is what's going to happen. I am calling the shots here, okay? 9th of November comes. If God of War comes out, we can dedicate an entire podcast to all of the times Alex Jones has gotten anything wrong.
Oh, I don't think anyone can be bothered to go back and find out all of those.
I will
occasions.
fucking do it. And I think Jamie
won't.
Do it with me. We'll scour it.
My favourite one is going to be finding the exact podcast where Jonesy originally brought up the bizarre theory that the first gameplay trailer of the game was this weird series of vertical slice vignettes because they haven't built anything.
Mate, I stand by that.
But that's what's going to happen, okay?
Hold
on. And then, if the inverse happens, if it does get delayed, we will know it's delayed by that time, okay? And at the time that it gets delayed too and it releases then what we will do is that podcast, we will talk about all the times that Jamie was wrong. That's fair.
On the actual release date?
Yeah, on the actual delayed release date.
Yeah, have at it. I wonder if the reason they've said it's the night, it's the Wednesday, which is a weird day, is it because there's something going on like the 10th or the 11th and they're just like, and it happens to be in November. It must be, right? It's got to be something like that. It's because it is a weird day, but it's got to be something just really innocuous.
At this date, on the 27th hour past midnight, I don't care. I want to end this podcast, and I will do so.
Damn, okay.
So thank you, everyone, for watching, listening. If you made it this far, you're a fucking sadist, masochist, rather. So congratulations, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.